Beneath the golden sands of the Nile Valley lies a world of enigmas that time has refused to surrender. Ancient Egypt, with its towering pyramids, sprawling temples, and cryptic writings carved into stone, remains one of history's greatest puzzles. For centuries, scholars, explorers, and adventurers have tried to decode its mysteries. Yet the deeper they dig, the more questions seem to rise. How did a civilization over 4,000 years ago move and shape stones heavier than locomotives with precision that rivals modern engineering? Why do some texts hint at knowledge of the stars and mathematics far beyond their supposed reach? And what secrets still lie hidden in sealed chambers, beneath dunes, or buried under forgotten ruins stretching from the Nile Delta to the deserts that touch Palestine? This is not just a story of kings and queens, but of lost wisdom, inexplicable achievements, and secrets deliberately concealed. Some may forever remain hidden in shadow, but others may yet be revealed. So sit back, relax, and let's journey together into the unsolved secrets of ancient Egypt. Stretching beyond the familiar contours of the Nile, past the fertile banks and bustling towns, the western desert unfolds as an expanse of shifting sands, jagged rock formations, and endless horizons. The heat shimmers off the dunes during the day, while at night, the stars burn with a brilliance that feels almost eternal. It is a landscape that appears untouched, inhospitable, and empty. But beneath this arid surface, some researchers believe, lies a secret that has eluded humanity for millennia. A hidden city, buried and forgotten, older than any known settlement in the region. Archaeologists have long mapped the western desert, recording traces of ancient trade routes, wells, and desert temples. They have uncovered evidence of small nomadic communities, rock inscriptions, and even temporary settlements from as early as 3000 BC. Yet, these discoveries hint at a broader, more enigmatic truth. Scattered reports from explorers and local Bedouin traditions speak of ruins so extensive, so precisely constructed, that they could scarcely belong to ordinary desert encampments. Some describe stone walls that extend for miles, labyrinthine networks of chambers carved directly into the bedrock, and towers or pyramidal structures visible only when the sun strikes the desert at particular angles. Others have pointed to aerial photographs from the mid-20th century that reveal faint geometric patterns, long straight lines, circular formations, and rectangular outlines that some suggest could indicate man-made structures buried beneath the sand. Mainstream archaeology tends to approach these claims cautiously. Many supposed hidden cities can be explained as natural formations, the play of shadows over eroded rock, or remnants of smaller settlements stretched and distorted over time. Satellite imagery and ground surveys have confirmed that erosion, wind patterns, and shifting sands can create the illusion of symmetry and alignment, turning desert ridges into the semblance of streets or walls. Even so, a persistent question lingers. Why do so many independent reports, spanning decades and different explorers, converge on certain areas, particularly in the region stretching from the Gilf Kebir Plateau toward the Karga Oasis? Could there be something truly extraordinary hidden beneath these layers of sand? Something that the desert has preserved in silence? The intrigue deepens when considering the resources and skills required to build a substantial settlement in such a harsh environment. Water is scarce, and yet some ancient desert sites show evidence of wells, cisterns, and complex irrigation methods that suggest a level of planning and organization far beyond what would be expected from temporary or seasonal camps. Could these hidden constructions have supported a sizable population, perhaps even a city, at some point in the distant past? And if so, why was it abandoned and left to the merciless sweep of the desert? Climatic shifts, political upheavals, or the depletion of resources are possible explanations, but none fully account for the scale and precision hinted at by the scattered evidence. Then there are the more speculative theories, which invite the imagination without requiring credulity. Some researchers have posited that certain desert alignments correspond with astronomical markers, pointing to advanced knowledge of the stars, solar cycles, and even the movement of the planets. Others wonder whether these hidden ruins could represent a civilization that predated the dynasties of the Nile, one that left no written record but whose architectural knowledge might have influenced later Egyptian constructions. There are whispers of underground passageways connecting distant oases, of chambers filled with artifacts preserved in near-perfect condition, and of hidden inscriptions that could rewrite our understanding of early desert cultures. While no definitive evidence confirms these claims, the desert's vast emptiness only amplifies the possibility that secrets remain buried, waiting for the right combination of chance and curiosity to reveal them. Explorers have faced enormous challenges in investigating these claims. The Western Desert is not only physically demanding, with temperatures soaring above 50 degrees Celsius in the summer and plummeting below freezing at night, but also geographically complex. Rugged plateaus, hidden cliffs, and shifting sands make detailed surveys difficult. Yet these obstacles have not deterred intrepid adventurers, who continue to report unusual rock formations, partially exposed foundations, and artifacts that defy easy categorization. Even drone surveys and satellite imaging, while helpful, can only reveal so much. Many believe that the true extent of what lies beneath the sand can only be discovered through patient, painstaking excavation. As we contemplate the possibility of a hidden city beneath the Western Desert, a sense of awe emerges, not just for the ingenuity that may have created it, but for the enduring mystery itself. What was life like for those who built here, far from the life-giving waters of the Nile? What knowledge did they possess, and why has so little of it survived in the historical record? The sands have kept their secrets for thousands of years, and in doing so, they challenge our assumptions about the limits of human civilization. Perhaps, somewhere beneath the dunes, remnants of walls, courtyards, and streets lie waiting, untouched by time, silently defying our understanding of what is possible in one of the harshest landscapes on Earth. For now, the hidden city remains just out of reach, a puzzle etched into stone and sand, tantalizing yet incomplete. We may walk its future streets only in imagination, guided by fragments and fleeting glimpses. And yet, the question persists. What truly lies beneath the Western Desert, where the known world ends and the realm of lost history begins? As the sun rises over the ancient city of Abydos, its warm light spills across the arid plains, illuminating a landscape steeped in history. Rows of temples and mortuary complexes mark the resting places of pharaohs, while the faint outlines of tombs whisper of centuries of ritual, devotion, and political power. Yet beneath this sacred ground, hidden from both time and casual observation, some researchers suspect an even more extraordinary secret: a vast subterranean megastructure, buried deep beneath the city, whose scale and purpose remain the subject of intense speculation. Abydos is already known as one of Egypt's most significant archaeological sites. It was a spiritual center for the worship of Osiris, the god of the afterlife, and held immense importance from at least 3000 BC onward. Excavations have revealed well-preserved temples, intricate reliefs, and tombs belonging to early dynastic rulers. Yet, for decades, persistent rumors and preliminary geophysical surveys have suggested that something lies beneath the surface, an extensive network of chambers, tunnels, and cavities stretching farther than any known construction in the area. These subterranean spaces, invisible to the naked eye and largely inaccessible, have fueled a quiet but growing fascination within the archaeological community. Some geologists and archaeologists propose that these anomalies may simply be natural caverns or the result of centuries of erosion in the limestone bedrock. Abydos sits atop a geological layer that is prone to the formation of cavities and fissures, making it plausible that some voids could be misinterpreted as man-made structures. Yet the scale and regularity of certain formations have puzzled experts. Seismic studies have identified areas of uniform density that suggest large, hollow spaces consistent with constructed chambers, rather than random geological formations. Could these be the remnants of an unknown architectural achievement, deliberately hidden beneath the city's sacred surface? Historical records provide tantalizing, if incomplete, clues. Abydos was a hub of ritual and pilgrimage, and pharaohs invested enormous resources into maintaining its sanctity. Could there have been subterranean structures used for ceremonies, secret archives, or burial complexes beyond those documented in the open air? Ancient texts occasionally reference hidden sanctuaries and secret chambers accessible only to priests and royalty, words that may hint at constructions that were deliberately concealed, perhaps to protect sacred knowledge or treasures. Some scholars argue that such chambers might also have served practical purposes: storage of food, water, or ritual objects necessary for long-term ceremonies in an environment where surface construction was limited by seasonal flooding or political turmoil. Beyond these conventional explanations, more speculative theories have emerged. Some suggest that the Abydos subterranean network may represent an architectural layer older than the temples and tombs visible today, perhaps dating back to pre-dynastic or early dynastic periods. Could an earlier civilization, now almost entirely lost to history, have laid the foundations for later Egyptian culture in ways we have yet to recognize? Others point to the alignment of the suspected chambers with astronomical markers, noting that ancient Egyptians often encoded celestial knowledge in their architecture. If these subterranean structures were designed with similar care, might they hold insights into a forgotten understanding of the stars, or even hidden calendars that guided religious rituals? Technological attempts to explore the megastructure remain limited. Ground-penetrating radar and magnetometry can detect anomalies in the subsurface, yet the complexity of the geological environment makes interpretation challenging. Excavation would be difficult and dangerous, requiring careful removal of tons of earth and stone without disturbing the sacred sites above. Despite these obstacles, a few pioneering teams have reported unusual findings: voids that extend in straight lines over hundreds of meters, chambers with smooth walls suggesting human workmanship, and passages that appear to interconnect multiple temple complexes. Each discovery deepens the mystery, inviting more questions than answers. The intrigue of the Abydos subterranean megastructure lies not just in its physical dimensions, but in the possibilities it represents. What stories could the hidden chambers tell about the people who once walked these plains? Were they constructed as a protective measure, a sacred undertaking, or something more enigmatic altogether? Even now, centuries after the first temples were raised, the ground beneath Abydos holds secrets that resist interpretation, demanding patience, precision, and imagination to approach. As we consider the hidden depths of Abydos, a sense of wonder emerges. The city above tells a story we can see, touch, and study. The city below may tell a story we have yet to hear. What knowledge, what artifacts, what traces of human endeavor remain concealed beneath the limestone? And if we were to uncover them, how might our understanding of early Egyptian civilization change? The subterranean world beneath Abydos remains largely invisible, yet its presence challenges us to look beyond what is obvious, to imagine what lies beneath, and to wonder whether the sands of Egypt guard their deepest secrets still. Nestled within the sands near Saqqara, the Serapeum stretches as a monumental testament to the ancient Egyptians' fascination with the sacred and the mysterious. The site is dominated by colossal burial galleries, carved deep into the limestone, designed to house the sacred Apis bulls, animals revered as earthly embodiments of the god Ptah. Sunlight struggles to penetrate the narrow corridors, leaving only flickering shadows to dance across the massive stone walls, and a quiet stillness hangs over the chambers, as though the stones themselves guard secrets long forgotten. Yet among these well-documented spaces, scholars have long whispered about objects even more enigmatic, the so-called black boxes of Serapeum, massive granite containers whose purpose and origins continue to puzzle researchers. The Serapeum was first excavated in the mid-19th century, revealing rows of sarcophagi larger than any human could easily move, each intricately cut from single blocks of stone. The Apis bulls were interred here over centuries, from at least 950 BC onward, in elaborate rituals reflecting the Egyptians' devotion to cycles of life, death, and rebirth. Yet the black boxes stand apart, both in scale and in mystery. Unlike the sarcophagi, these objects are sealed, featureless, and almost impossibly precise, crafted from a type of granite whose quarries lie hundreds of kilometers away. Their sheer weight, several tons each, raises questions about the techniques employed to transport and position them deep underground, and no inscriptions or markings explain their function or significance. Mainstream archaeology suggests that the black boxes may have served as ceremonial containers, perhaps storing sacred relics, offerings, or records associated with the Apis cult. Yet their design is unlike any other known Egyptian artifact, and there is no direct textual reference describing them. Some historians propose that the boxes were intended as symbolic vessels, meant to contain spiritual energy or to mark boundaries between the mortal and divine realms. Others argue that they might have held practical objects that have since disintegrated or been removed over the millennia, leaving only the enigmatic stones behind. What makes the black boxes particularly compelling is not just their construction, but the precision with which they were executed. Modern engineers and stonecutters, using only the most sophisticated tools, find it difficult to replicate the smooth surfaces, perfectly squared edges, and seamless joins of these massive blocks. How did ancient craftsmen, with tools presumed to be limited to copper chisels, dolerite pounders, and wooden sledges, achieve such perfection? Could there have been techniques or knowledge now lost to history, carefully guarded and preserved for a sacred purpose? Beyond craftsmanship, some researchers have noted the arrangement of the boxes within the galleries. They are often positioned in alignment with subterranean corridors or chambers, suggesting intentional placement within a larger, hidden architectural plan. A few even speculate that the boxes may be connected to underground voids or passageways yet to be discovered, forming part of a larger, unseen network beneath Saqqara. Could these alignments have astronomical or ritual significance, echoing patterns observed in temples, pyramids, and other sacred sites across Egypt? Or were they intended to channel energy, spiritual or otherwise, in ways that modern science has yet to comprehend? Theories about the black boxes venture further still into the speculative. Some suggest they may contain objects of knowledge, scrolls, artifacts, or even encoded symbols that could illuminate aspects of Egyptian religion, science, or governance that are currently lost. Others propose that the boxes served as protective measures, safeguarding something that was deliberately kept hidden from the outside world. While no evidence confirms these claims, the very fact that the boxes remain sealed, untouched, and largely unexplored fuels the imagination, allowing the Serapeum to retain a sense of profound mystery. Technological attempts to study the boxes are limited by both their weight and the fragility of the surrounding structures. Ground-penetrating radar, 3D mapping, and non-invasive scanning have provided glimpses of the spaces around them, but the interior remains inaccessible. Even moving a single box would be an engineering challenge, and any disturbance risks damaging the carefully carved galleries above. For now, we are left to rely on measurements, historical descriptions, and careful observation to piece together what purpose they might have served. As we consider the black boxes of Serapeum, a sense of reverence and curiosity emerges. They are silent witnesses to centuries of ritual, devotion, and craftsmanship, yet they speak in riddles, leaving us to interpret their meaning from shadows and absence. What knowledge, what treasures, what spiritual purpose lies hidden within or around these massive stones? And why did the ancients go to such extraordinary lengths to construct and conceal them? The black boxes remain an enigma, a tangible reminder that, beneath the surface of even the best studied sites, Egypt still guards secrets that defy our understanding and invite us to wonder what might yet be discovered. Rising from the sands of Giza, the Great Pyramid commands attention like a monument frozen in time. Its limestone blocks gleam under the Egyptian sun, each one carefully placed in a structure so vast that it has baffled engineers and archaeologists for centuries. From the smooth casing stones that once reflected sunlight across the desert to the shadowed corridors within, the pyramid presents a blend of architectural precision and enduring mystery. Yet, beneath its familiar passages and well-documented chambers, there may lie a secret that has remained hidden for millennia, a previously undiscovered chamber, concealed within the heart of Khufu's colossal monument. The Great Pyramid, constructed around 2580 BC, has long been studied for its engineering marvels, alignment with the cardinal points, and intricate internal architecture. It houses the King's Chamber, the Queen's Chamber, and a series of narrow shafts that have invited countless interpretations. But in 2017, a breakthrough came through the use of muon radiography, a technique that detects variations in density using cosmic rays. Scientists identified a large, empty space above the Grand Gallery, an anomaly that has come to be known as the Hidden Chamber. Unlike the corridors and rooms known for centuries, this chamber exists silently, its purpose and dimensions still largely speculative. The initial explanations offered by Egyptologists lean toward structural necessity. The hidden chamber may function as a relieving space, distributing weight from the Grand Gallery and the King's Chamber below, preventing collapse in a structure composed of millions of tons of stone. Yet while this theory accounts for its existence, it leaves many questions unanswered. Why does the chamber extend in a linear, gallery-like form rather than simple voids? Could its scale, orientation, and position have significance beyond structural engineering? Theories that it serves purely practical purposes do not fully explain the precision of its construction or the manner in which it has remained entirely undisturbed for more than 4,500 years. Speculation expands when considering the cultural and religious context of Khufu's pyramid. Ancient Egyptians placed immense importance on the journey of the soul, and pyramids were designed as gateways to the afterlife. Could the hidden chamber have had a ritualistic purpose, a space reserved for sacred objects, texts, or symbols that were never meant to be seen by the living? Some researchers draw parallels with the shafts in the Queen's Chamber, suggesting that hidden passages and chambers may have been aligned with specific stars or celestial events, creating a cosmological blueprint encoded within the pyramid stone. Other, more provocative ideas have been suggested, though they remain without direct evidence. Might the hidden chamber contain artifacts or knowledge deliberately concealed by the pharaoh's architects? Could it have served as a repository for records, ritual tools, or treasures meant to survive through the ages, accessible only to the divine or to those initiated into sacred knowledge? While these possibilities remain speculative, the very notion that a pyramid, already one of the most studied monuments on Earth, could harbor unknown spaces reminds us of how much of history remains just out of reach. Exploration of the chamber is limited. Non-invasive methods, such as robotic probes and muon imaging, have provided only partial glimpses, revealing a cavity of significant size but little else. Physical access is impossible without disturbing the structure, which is both culturally unacceptable and dangerously difficult. Yet even these partial views hint at the complexity of Khufu's design. Walls so precise that they could guide hidden passageways, voids shaped in ways that suggest intentional planning, and spaces that interact with the pyramid's geometry in ways we are only beginning to understand. The hidden chamber also raises broader questions about human capability and ambition. How did ancient builders move millions of tons of stone with such precision? What knowledge did they possess of geometry, astronomy, and physics that allowed them to design structures still standing with millimeter accuracy? And how much of this knowledge has been lost to time, leaving only these enigmatic traces in the stone? Each discovery, rather than answering these questions definitively, seems to deepen the mystery, reminding us that even the most familiar monuments may conceal secrets still waiting to be revealed. As we contemplate the hidden chamber, a quiet awe emerges, not for the objects it may contain, but for the ingenuity, vision, and ambition of the civilization that created it. It challenges our understanding of what was possible in the ancient world, and invites us to consider the boundaries between the known and the unknowable. What lies within this silent space, above the grand gallery and beyond the reach of conventional exploration? Does it hold artifacts, knowledge, or purely empty stone, preserved as a structural necessity or as a deliberate enigma? For now, the chamber waits, hidden and patient, reminding us that even in monuments studied for centuries, the past can retain its secrets, and that some mysteries may endure far longer than we expect. In the quiet halls of the Egyptian Museum in Cairo, among gleaming artifacts and stone relics, lies an object so small and unassuming that it can easily be overlooked: the Saqqara Bird. Crafted from a single piece of sycamore wood, just over 14 centimeters in length, its wings outstretched, tail carved with precision, it resembles a falcon in flight. At first glance, it seems like a simple votive figure, an artistic tribute to the birds that once soared over the Nile Valley. Yet the more closely it is examined, the more questions arise about its true purpose, and whether it may represent knowledge or technology far ahead of its time. Discovered in 1898 within a tomb at Saqqara, an expansive necropolis south of Cairo, the bird is generally dated to around 200 BC, during the late period of ancient Egypt. Saqqara itself is a place of immense historical significance, home to pyramids, tombs, and chapels. It served as a burial ground for generations of priests, nobles, and royalty. The bird was unearthed among ceremonial objects, suggesting that it held symbolic or ritual importance. Conventional interpretations frame it as a simple model of a falcon or a representation of the Ba, the soul of the deceased in the form of a bird, which was common in Egyptian funerary art. Yet some features of the artifact invite closer scrutiny. The bird's proportions are unusual, its wings curved in a manner that appears more aerodynamic than merely decorative. When held and balanced, the wooden figure exhibits a stability and center of gravity remarkably similar to that of modern gliders. Experiments conducted by aviation enthusiasts and engineers have demonstrated that, with minor adjustments, the shape could theoretically achieve sustained flight. Could this have been a simple toy, or is it possible that it was designed with a deeper understanding of aerodynamics than previously credited to the Egyptians? Mainstream Egyptologists caution against reading modern technology into an ancient object. They note that the bird may have been a symbolic artifact, with its design guided by artistic convention rather than scientific principles. Ancient Egyptians frequently stylized animals, exaggerating certain features for aesthetic or spiritual purposes. The precise curvature of the wings could be coincidental, or perhaps intended to make the bird visually dynamic when held or displayed. Yet, even if it were symbolic, the artifact's resemblance to a glider raises questions. How did the creator understand balance, lift, and symmetry well enough to produce such a convincing model? Speculative theories expand upon this curiosity. Some researchers have suggested that the Saqqara bird could have been a conceptual precursor to flight, a demonstration of principles that would not be formally understood for millennia. Others propose that it was used in ritualized flight experiments, small-scale models cast into the air to represent the soul's journey, or even for ceremonial games that mimicked the motion of birds in the sky. The lack of direct documentation leaves these interpretations open-ended, allowing the artifact to straddle the line between symbolism, artistry, and functional design. Further intrigue arises from comparisons with other ancient cultures. Similar bird-shaped objects have been discovered across the Mediterranean, but none exhibit the same combination of proportion, balance, and curvature as the Saqqara bird. Could it represent a unique experiment in observation and imitation of nature? A miniature tribute to the mastery of flight seen in the falcons that patrolled the skies above the Nile? Or might it hint at knowledge lost to time, a fleeting glimpse of ancient ingenuity that modern science has only begun to appreciate? What makes the Saqqara bird particularly compelling is not only its form, but the context in which it was found. Within a tomb, surrounded by ritual objects, it suggests a connection between art, religion, and perhaps even experimentation. Ancient Egyptians revered the sky and the heavens, associating birds with the soul, the gods, and the journey to the afterlife. If flight held spiritual significance, could this tiny model have been intended as a symbolic guide, a vessel for the spirit, or even a teaching tool for observing the principles of motion in the physical world? Despite the centuries that separate us from its creation, the bird continues to captivate imagination. Scholars, engineers, and curious minds alike are drawn to its elegance and precision, pondering whether it is purely ceremonial or whether it hints at a forgotten understanding of aerodynamics. Its simplicity belies a complexity that invites deeper thought, demanding that we consider the boundaries between art, science, and ritual in ancient Egypt. As we examine the Saqqara bird, a quiet fascination emerges. A small wooden figure, carved millennia ago, yet still capable of inspiring questions about human creativity and ingenuity. Was it merely a symbolic representation of a falcon in flight, or could it be evidence of ancient experimentation with the principles of aerodynamics, preserved in miniature form? The artifact leaves us with a lingering sense of wonder, reminding us that even in objects that appear familiar, Egypt may still hold secrets that challenge our understanding of history, technology, and imagination. What other mysteries, encoded in small, silent forms, remain hidden among the tombs and temples of this ancient civilization? Deep within the temple complex of Abydos, walls etched with hieroglyphs tell the stories of pharaohs, gods, and the rituals that shaped the spiritual life of ancient Egypt. Sunlight filters through the narrow corridors, illuminating symbols carved with meticulous care thousands of years ago. Among these familiar depictions, gods striding beside kings, offerings presented to sacred deities, some symbols stand out, enigmatic and puzzling. They are the so-called helicopter glyphs, shapes that, to the modern eye, appear startlingly reminiscent of helicopters, submarines, and other machinery that would not exist for millennia. Abydos has been a spiritual center since at least 3000 BC, serving as a focal point for royal devotion and pilgrimage. The Temple of Seti I, constructed around 1290 BC, contains one of the most extensive hieroglyphic programs in Egypt. Within its sanctified walls, artisans carved the pharaoh's name and titles into plaster overlying stone reliefs. Over centuries, as the plaster eroded and layers shifted, a series of overlapping inscriptions emerged, creating shapes that some observers interpret as modern vehicles. Critics argue that these figures are merely palimpsests, the natural result of successive carvings overriding one another. Yet the visual impact is undeniable. There are lines, curves, and contours that suggest forms entirely unexpected in the context of ancient hieroglyphic art. Mainstream Egyptologists maintain that these images can be explained through ordinary processes of inscription. As older hieroglyphs were replaced or corrected, new plaster and carvings sometimes created composite shapes, producing illusions of machinery or tools unknown to the ancients. The helicopter forms in this interpretation are coincidental, a trick of perception influenced by our contemporary understanding of technology. Yet even if unintentional, the shapes provoke curiosity. Why do the overlapping inscriptions align in ways that mimic the outlines of rotors, fuselages, or other recognizable mechanical forms? Could this be coincidence? Or might the ancient artisans have been experimenting with forms that, in our time, evoke unexpected associations? Some observers go further, proposing that the glyphs may hint at knowledge or imagination far beyond the commonly accepted historical timeline. Could the depictions represent a conceptual understanding of motion, energy, or technology that was recorded symbolically rather than literally? Ancient Egyptian art was highly symbolic, often encoding ideas about life, death, and the cosmos in ways that transcend literal representation. Might these shapes be a form of symbolic abstraction, inadvertently mirroring technological forms that humanity would only invent thousands of years later? The context of the carvings adds another layer of intrigue. Abydos was a site of immense religious significance, where the pharaoh's journey in the afterlife and his connection with the gods were carefully documented. Could the unusual forms have served a ritual purpose, representing vehicles of the gods or instruments of divine power, rather than earthly machines? Ancient Egyptian culture often depicted gods traveling across the sky, through water, or between realms. Could the helicopter glyphs, in this light, be symbolic representations of such movement? Ancient attempts to visualize divine transportation or celestial motion in concrete terms? Further fascination comes from the physical process of uncovering the glyphs. They are not immediately visible. They emerge only after careful study, photography, and digital enhancement, revealing shapes that are otherwise hidden in layers of plaster and time. In this way, they echo many other Egyptian mysteries. Concealed knowledge waiting for the right methods, perspectives, and tools to bring it into view. The human tendency to recognize familiar forms, helicopters, submarines, airplanes, in abstract patterns may play a role, but it also reflects the enduring impact of ancient artistry on modern imagination. Whether coincidental, symbolic, or something more enigmatic, the Abydos glyphs challenge our assumptions about history, perception, and the limits of human ingenuity. They remind us that ancient Egypt was a civilization of extraordinary complexity, capable of producing art that communicates across millennia, speaking in a language both visual and conceptual. What were the intentions of the artisans who carved these overlapping symbols? Were they preserving sacred narratives, correcting inscriptions, or perhaps experimenting with abstract forms in ways we cannot fully comprehend? As we stand before the walls of Abydos, a quiet fascination takes hold. The glyphs, partially hidden and partially revealed, encourage us to question not only the knowledge of the past, but also the ways in which we interpret it. Are the helicopter glyphs simply a product of layered artistry, or could they hint at concepts that defy conventional chronology? In the end, the mystery endures, an invitation to wonder what remains concealed behind the stone, and to consider how much more of Egypt's lost secrets may yet lie hidden, waiting for discovery. Beneath the sun-baked plateau of Giza, where the Great Pyramid and its neighboring monuments rise in silent grandeur, lies a secret that has captivated both scientists and mystics alike. Traces of liquid mercury coursing through hidden channels beneath the pyramids. The desert stretches endlessly above, a landscape of limestone and sand, yet below, the notion of rivers of metal hints at an invisible world, a network of subterranean passages whose very existence challenges our understanding of ancient Egyptian engineering. The discovery emerged from geophysical studies and chemical analyses conducted in recent decades. Small quantities of mercury were detected in cavities and fissures beneath the Giza Plateau, sparking questions about the purpose of this elusive element in one of the world's most sacred sites. Mercury, liquid at room temperature and notoriously difficult to contain, has properties that fascinated the ancients. It is reflective, dense, and moves with a fluidity unlike any other metal, qualities that lent it symbolic significance in numerous early civilizations. Its presence beneath the pyramids has led some researchers to ponder whether it was more than a mere curiosity, whether it served ritualistic, functional, or even experimental purposes. Mainstream explanations suggest that the mercury may have entered the ground through natural processes, seeping from mineral deposits in the surrounding geology. Egypt sits atop a variety of mineral-rich formations, and the movement of groundwater over millennia can transport trace elements, depositing them in fissures and chambers. From this perspective, the rivers are coincidental, a geological accident rather than a product of human intent. Yet the concentrations and locations identified by modern testing hint at patterns that seem deliberate, prompting a closer examination of the possibility that ancient engineers may have manipulated the element intentionally. Historically, mercury was associated with spiritual and symbolic meanings. In various ancient cultures, it represented transformation, fluidity, and a bridge between earthly and divine realms. Could the Egyptians, renowned for their elaborate rituals and cosmic knowledge, have exploited these properties in ways that remain largely unknown? Some have proposed that mercury might have been used in ceremonial contexts, reflecting light from sacred spaces, or even as part of alchemical experiments seeking to harness its mysterious energy. Its presence beneath the pyramids would have created an invisible network, a subterranean mirror to the sacred architecture above, invisible yet potent in meaning. Other, more speculative theories explore practical applications of mercury beneath the pyramids. Certain researchers have suggested that the metal could have served as a component of advanced engineering projects. Mercury conducts electricity and possesses thermal and reflective qualities. Could it have been part of experiments related to energy, acoustics, or even unknown mechanical systems? While no direct evidence confirms such uses, the very concept invites reflection on the ingenuity and ambition of ancient Egyptian builders, who combined mathematics, astronomy, and materials science in ways that continue to inspire awe. The idea of liquid metal flowing beneath monumental stone structures also evokes a symbolic resonance. Mercury moves with grace, adapting to the contours of the space around it, a fluid that cannot be constrained. In this sense, it mirrors the spiritual beliefs of the Egyptians, for whom the afterlife, the soul, and the divine were not fixed or rigid but dynamic, flowing through realms both visible and hidden. Could these underground rivers have been intended as a metaphysical representation of cosmic forces, a secret current connecting the living world with the sacred geometry of the afterlife? Challenges remain in studying these subterranean phenomena. Mercury is difficult to detect and even more difficult to manipulate safely, and the pyramids themselves are fragile and sacred. Explorations must rely on non-invasive technologies, ground-penetrating radar, chemical sampling, and simulations. Yet, even limited data tantalizes with hints of what might lie beneath. Channels, voids, and anomalies suggest a network more complex than simple natural fissures, inviting us to consider whether human hands, guided by ancient knowledge, may have shaped these hidden streams. As we contemplate the Mercury beneath the pyramids, a sense of quiet fascination emerges. It is a reminder that even in the most studied and monumental sites, there are layers of mystery yet untouched, elements of human intention intertwined with natural forces. Were these metallic flows accidental, symbolic, or practical? Did they serve a sacred purpose, a scientific experiment, or both? The rivers of Mercury, hidden beneath stone that has stood for millennia, challenge our assumptions about ancient Egypt, urging us to look deeper and wonder what other secrets, unseen and unmeasured, may still flow quietly beneath the sands. Beneath the sands of the Giza Plateau, where the pyramids rise like timeless sentinels over the desert, whispers of a hidden structure have persisted for generations. The plateau, so thoroughly studied and photographed, might seem to hold few secrets left undiscovered. Yet, beneath the limestone and bedrock, some researchers believe there lies the remains of a lost temple, an ancient edifice deliberately buried or forgotten, its purpose and scale still shrouded in mystery. The idea of subterranean structures beneath Giza is not new. Ancient Egyptian builders were known to construct hidden chambers, passageways, and sacred spaces beneath pyramids and temples, often as protective measures or as sites of ritual. The Lost Temple is said to occupy a vast underground network, perhaps connected to the Great Pyramid and other monuments through tunnels, chambers, or natural fissures. Those who have studied the plateau closely point to unusual geophysical anomalies. Depressions in the bedrock, patterns in the subsurface detected by ground-penetrating radar, and unexpected mineral concentrations that hint at man-made construction rather than natural formations. Mainstream archaeology remains cautious. Many of the anomalies can be explained as natural geological formations or the results of centuries of erosion and shifting sands. Yet the convergence of multiple indicators, voids, unusual alignments, and traces of ancient stonework has led some experts to consider the possibility that a temple or a series of ritual complexes may indeed lie buried beneath the plateau. If true, such a discovery would challenge conventional ideas about the spatial organization of the Giza necropolis and the extent of its sacred landscape. Historical context deepens the intrigue. Temples in ancient Egypt were not merely places of worship. They were cosmic instruments, aligning with the stars, the sun, and the cycles of the Nile. Could the Lost Temple have been built as a counterpart to the Great Pyramid, a structure serving complementary functions in rituals, astronomy, or spiritual governance? Ancient texts describe hidden sanctuaries and secret halls where kings and priests conducted rites inaccessible to the general populace. The buried temple, if it exists, might have been a physical manifestation of such sacred secrecy, an intentional concealment, preserving knowledge or objects for generations to come. Some researchers speculate further. The temple may have been constructed using technologies or methods that differ from those evident in above-ground monuments, perhaps utilizing chambers to store rare minerals, fluids, or artifacts, materials whose purpose remains unknown. Could it have been part of a network of subterranean sites designed to harness energy, symbolic or otherwise? Did it serve as a repository for texts, relics, or even elements now lost to history, hidden to safeguard their significance? Such ideas, while speculative, highlight the enduring fascination with what the ancients might have accomplished beneath the surface, unseen and unrecorded. The plateau itself provides subtle hints. Shifts in elevation, unusual stone formations, and minor depressions could indicate collapsed chambers or filled passageways. In some locations, satellite imaging reveals faint patterns that suggest rectilinear structures beneath the sand, echoing the orientation of the pyramids above. Could these be remnants of walls, courtyards, or ceremonial platforms? Or are they natural coincidences, illusions born from light, shadow, and erosion? The question remains open, inviting careful study and cautious imagination. Adding to the mystery is the symbolic resonance of such a temple. Ancient Egyptians often linked the physical and metaphysical, creating architecture that mirrored cosmic order, spiritual journeys, and divine authority. A lost temple beneath Giza would not be merely a hidden building. It would be a secret stage upon which rituals of profound significance were enacted. Could the subterranean space have been intended as a passage between worlds, a conduit for the soul's journey, or a hidden center of celestial observation? The very idea stretches our understanding of what the ancients might have conceived as sacred space. Investigating such a site is challenging. The pyramids themselves are fragile and sacred. Excavation risks disturbing both the monuments and the desert environment. Researchers rely on non-invasive technologies, radar scans, muon imaging, and geological surveys. Each method uncovers fragments of information, tantalizing glimpses into what may lie below, yet definitive evidence remains elusive. In the absence of direct access, the lost temple exists in a space between speculation and possibility, a reminder that even the most iconic landscapes can harbor hidden histories. As we consider the lost temple beneath Giza, a quiet awe emerges. Beneath the sands that have shifted for millennia, a network of stone, ritual, and perhaps knowledge may persist, untouched and inscrutable. Was it built to preserve something sacred, to shield knowledge, or simply as an extension of ceremonial architecture? The temple's absence from historical records only heightens its intrigue, prompting us to wonder how much of Egypt's hidden past remains just out of reach. What other secrets lie beneath the plateau, waiting for the right combination of curiosity, technology, and patience to reveal them? The desert guards its silence, yet the possibility of discovery keeps the imagination alive. In the quiet, dimly lit corridors of tombs and temples scattered across ancient Egypt, some of the most enigmatic depictions are not of gods or pharaohs themselves, but of the paths they must traverse after death. Among these, the so-called Map of the Duat stands out, a visual guide to the Egyptian underworld, an intricate representation of the journey that awaits the soul in the realm beyond. Unlike conventional maps of earthly landscapes, the Duat map is layered with symbolism, myth, and cosmic order, its passages both literal and metaphorical, inviting reflection on a civilization that saw death not as an end, but as a complex voyage. The concept of the Duat appears in texts dating as far back as 2400 BC, described as a hidden realm of rivers, gates, and celestial bodies, a space through which the deceased must navigate to achieve rebirth and immortality. In tombs such as that of Seti I at Abydos and in various temple reliefs, the Duat is depicted with astonishing detail. Serpentine rivers, islands, mysterious guardians, and otherworldly architecture. Some researchers interpret these as purely symbolic, illustrating the soul's moral and spiritual journey. Others see them as attempts to codify a real, navigable underworld, a hidden geography known to the priests, perhaps even recorded in lost temples and sacred texts. The map is not uniform. Its forms shift depending on the period, the temple, and the purpose of the depiction. In some cases, the Duat appears as a flowing river, its currents marked by stars and celestial markers. In others, it takes on the appearance of a labyrinth, dotted with gates and portals that must be passed through successfully. Each element carries meaning, from serpents symbolizing danger or transformation to islands representing stages of initiation. The complexity of these depictions suggests a sophisticated system of knowledge, one that blends spirituality, astronomy, and perhaps even environmental observation into a single, cohesive vision of the cosmos. Mainstream Egyptologists generally approach the map as symbolic, cautioning against literal interpretations. The Duat, they argue, is a conceptual landscape, a moral and spiritual framework encoded in imagery. Yet even within this framework, questions arise. The level of detail in some depictions, the precise alignment of stars, rivers, and gates, and the recurring motifs across disparate sites all suggest a knowledge system that may have extended beyond metaphor. Could the map encode practical information, perhaps concerning sacred geography, underground structures, or ritual spaces? Was it intended for initiates who understood the secrets of temple construction, celestial observation, or the cycles of the Nile? Speculative interpretations venture further. Some scholars suggest that the Duat map may correspond to actual hidden passages beneath sacred sites, networks of tunnels, chambers, and subterranean waterways that mirrored the symbolic pathways depicted on the walls. Others propose that the map was a mnemonic device, a visual tool used by priests to memorize complex rituals and cosmological knowledge. Could it even preserve encoded instructions for navigating the afterlife, guiding the soul as a physical or metaphysical journey through realms known only to the most learned adepts? What makes the map of the Duat especially compelling is the interplay between the visible and invisible. While the carvings and paintings are tangible, their meaning remains elusive, requiring interpretation through symbols, context, and intuition. The Egyptians themselves regarded this knowledge as sacred, revealed selectively to those who had the proper spiritual training. In this sense, the map functions both as a guide and as a veil, offering insight while concealing its deepest secrets. Could it be that much of what is depicted was intentionally left incomprehensible to ordinary observers, preserving a cosmic mystery that the ancients alone were meant to navigate? The map also raises profound questions about human understanding of space, life, and death. Ancient Egyptians viewed the Duat not as a passive realm, but as a dynamic living space, filled with challenges, guardians, and energies that the soul must negotiate. Could these depictions reflect a broader awareness of unseen forces, an attempt to chart dimensions beyond the physical? Did they encode knowledge of natural cycles, celestial alignments, or even hidden subterranean networks associated with sacred sites? The intersections between myth, astronomy, and architecture suggest that the Duat map may have served as a bridge between the earthly and the divine, a testament to a worldview that saw the cosmos as deeply interconnected. As we study the map of the Duat, a sense of quiet awe emerges. It is more than a work of art. It is a window into the spiritual imagination of a civilization, a guide to a realm both mysterious and meticulously structured. What knowledge was intended to be preserved in these labyrinthine depictions, and what remains inaccessible to us? Were the maps purely allegorical, or do they hint at hidden chambers, sacred pathways, or cosmic principles that we have yet to uncover? The Duat map reminds us that ancient Egypt was a civilization attuned not only to the physical world, but to the hidden dimensions beyond it. A landscape of mystery that continues to invite reflection, study, and wonder. Within the shadowed chambers of Egypt's oldest pyramids, words etched in stone have endured for over 4,000 years. These are the pyramid texts, a collection of sacred inscriptions carved into the walls of the tombs of kings, intended to guide their souls through death and into the afterlife. Written as spells, invocations, and ritual commands, they are more than literary artifacts. They are living maps of the cosmos, reflections of a civilization deeply attuned to the heavens. Among the most intriguing elements of these texts are their references to the stars, patterns, constellations, and celestial pathways that suggest an intimate understanding of the night sky and its role in the journey of the soul. The pyramid texts date back to around 2400 BC, primarily associated with the tombs at Saqqara, including that of Pharaoh Unas. These inscriptions form the earliest known corpus of religious writing in Egypt, and they depict a universe both tangible and mystical. The king's soul is often described as ascending to the imperishable stars, or journeying alongside Orion and the circumpolar constellations, which never set and thus symbolize eternity. The texts are meticulous in naming celestial bodies, describing their motions and positioning them as critical guides for the soul. To the ancient Egyptians, the night sky was not merely decorative, it was a landscape of divine significance, intertwined with life, death, and cosmic order. Mainstream Egyptology interprets these references largely symbolically. The stars represent eternal aspects of the soul, divine guidance, and cosmic stability. They are metaphors for the king's rebirth and his eternal presence in the heavens. Yet, when examined closely, the texts suggest a knowledge of astronomy that seems highly precise. Certain spells describe the path of the sun, the rising and setting of specific stars, and alignments that correspond to the cardinal points. Some researchers note that these descriptions reflect observations of celestial cycles that would have been remarkably accurate for the time, raising questions about the methods by which the Egyptians recorded and transmitted astronomical knowledge. Beyond symbolism, the texts hint at a practical function. The depictions of the stars are often tied to passages within the pyramid itself, shafts, corridors, and chambers oriented in ways that appear to align with particular stellar phenomena. Could the pyramid texts have served as guides for the placement and orientation of architectural elements, ensuring that the physical structure mirrored the heavens? Were the pyramids themselves, in effect, terrestrial representations of celestial order, constructed to facilitate the king's journey through the cosmos after death? These possibilities suggest a sophisticated intertwining of astronomy, architecture, and ritual, demonstrating that ancient Egyptians may have encoded observational science within their spiritual frameworks. Speculative interpretations go further. Some researchers have proposed that certain passages indicate knowledge of precession, the slow movement of the stars over centuries, or of specific star cycles connected to the Nile's inundation and agricultural timing. Others suggest that the texts contain a kind of celestial map meant to be read and interpreted by priests to guide ritual actions or even predict events. Could the pyramid texts then be both spiritual and scientific documents, preserving observations of the heavens that were essential to both religion and daily life? The precision of the references, combined with their metaphysical significance, implies a worldview in which the cosmos, the afterlife, and earthly affairs were inseparably intertwined. The poetic language of the texts deepens their mystery. The king is described as joining Orion, becoming a star that does not die, or sailing through the northern sky with the circumpolar stars. Such passages blur the line between the observable and the imagined, between practical observation and symbolic representation. Were these descriptions literal pathways for the soul, symbolic guides, or encoded astronomical data? Perhaps they were all three, layered in ways that only initiated priests could fully interpret. This layering of meaning underscores the depth of Egyptian cosmology, a system that integrates myth, ritual, and the observable universe into a cohesive vision of eternity. Studying the pyramid texts today requires a delicate balance. Scholars, archaeologists, and astronomers attempt to correlate the inscriptions with modern stellar charts, yet the texts themselves resist easy translation. Variations in language, eroded glyphs, and contextual ambiguities leave much open to interpretation. What is clear, however, is that the stars were not peripheral to Egyptian thought. They were central, guiding principles for architecture, ritual, and the very conception of life and death. As we contemplate the pyramid texts and their celestial references, a quiet fascination emerges. These inscriptions are more than ceremonial words. They are a dialogue between human observation, spiritual aspiration, and the vast, unknowable cosmos. How much of their astronomical knowledge was empirical, and how much symbolic? Did the pyramids themselves act as instruments in a cosmic schema, aligning with the stars to facilitate the king's journey? And what other insights, encoded in the language of the heavens, remain hidden within these ancient walls, waiting for those who can decipher both the stars and the words that describe them? The pyramid texts remind us that in ancient Egypt, the boundaries between earth and sky, life and afterlife, known and unknown, were delicately intertwined, inviting us to look upward and inward with equal wonder. In the shadowed sands of Abydos, among the ruins of temples and the silent pathways of ancient processions, there exists a mystery that has puzzled archaeologists and Egyptologists for centuries: the dual tombs of Osiris. Unlike typical burial sites, these tombs are not simply monuments to a mortal ruler, but sanctuaries dedicated to the god of the afterlife himself. Their duality, two separate yet intimately connected structures, raises profound questions about ancient beliefs, architectural intention, and the possibility of hidden knowledge encoded in their design. Abydos has long been a sacred center of Egyptian spirituality, particularly associated with Osiris, god of death, resurrection, and eternal life. The dual tombs, situated beneath and around the temple complex, appear to mirror one another, aligned along precise axes that some researchers argue correlate with the stars, the Nile's flow, or even subterranean waterways beneath the plateau. The first tomb, partially excavated and studied, contains inscriptions, ritual objects, and carved reliefs depicting Osiris's journey through the underworld. The second, less accessible and hidden beneath layers of sediment and stone, remains largely unexplored, known only through geophysical surveys and the faint echoes of ancient texts. Mainstream explanations suggest that the two tombs represent symbolic aspects of Osiris's myth. One tomb for his death, the other for his resurrection, reflecting the cycles of nature, agriculture, and the Nile itself. Ancient Egyptians were masters of symbolic architecture, embedding meaning into layout, orientation, and design. The alignment of these tombs may have been intended to represent duality itself: life and death, seen and unseen, temporal and eternal. Yet even within this interpretation, questions remain. Why construct two tombs rather than a single, unified sanctuary? What secrets might the second, hidden tomb contain, and why was it deliberately concealed? Some researchers propose a more provocative possibility. The second tomb could have been a repository for sacred knowledge, ritual instruments, or even texts no longer available to modern scholars. Its concealment may have served both practical and spiritual purposes, protecting divine secrets, preserving objects of power, or maintaining the integrity of rituals reserved for high priests. If this is the case, the dual tombs were not merely commemorative. They were active centers of spiritual experimentation, functioning as conduits between the physical and metaphysical worlds. The design of the tombs themselves adds to the intrigue. Both exhibit precise construction techniques, with chambers and corridors cut to exact measurements. Certain passages are intentionally narrow, others high and vaulted, suggesting a careful orchestration of light, shadow, and acoustics. Could these architectural choices have served a ceremonial purpose, guiding the movement of participants, the flow of ritual energy, or even the journey of the soul? Some speculative theories propose that the tombs were designed to interact with celestial alignments, the rising and setting of particular stars, or the movements of the sun and moon, reinforcing the connection between Osiris's resurrection and the eternal cycles of the cosmos. Further fascination arises from the geographic placement of the tombs. They lie near other significant sites, including temples dedicated to Isis and other gods of the underworld, forming a network of sacred spaces. Could the dual design reflect a broader cosmological principle, a deliberate pairing intended to mirror both earthly and celestial order? Perhaps the tombs functioned as nodes in a larger spiritual map, connecting the living world with realms beyond perception and guiding pilgrims or priests through a symbolic journey that transcended mortality itself. Exploration of these tombs is difficult. Sediment, structural instability, and the sacred nature of the site limit invasive investigation, leaving much of the second tomb a mystery. Ground-penetrating radar, muon imaging, and other modern techniques hint at hidden chambers and voids, but definitive confirmation remains elusive. This veil of inaccessibility only heightens the allure. The tombs exist as both tangible structures and abstract concepts, bridging the seen and the unseen, the knowable and the unknowable. As we reflect on the dual tombs of Osiris, their mystery is a quiet but persistent invitation. Were they intended as purely symbolic constructs, as mainstream scholars propose, or did they serve a more practical, concealed purpose, safeguarding sacred knowledge and ritual tools? How much of the ancient Egyptians' understanding of death, resurrection, and the cosmos remains encoded in these hidden chambers, waiting for those with the insight, patience, and reverence to uncover it? The dual tombs remind us that in the deserts of Egypt, even the most revered and studied sites hold secrets just beneath the surface, layers of history, spirituality, and ingenuity that continue to challenge our understanding of this remarkable civilization. Nestled within the sanctuaries of ancient Egyptian temples and often associated with the goddess Wadjet, a small but remarkable artifact has captivated the curiosity of historians and archaeologists alike: the mysterious green stone. Smooth, lustrous, and vivid in hue, this stone is unlike ordinary minerals commonly found in Egypt. It emits a subtle radiance under the desert sun, as if carrying an inner life, a quality that may explain why the ancients held it in such reverence. Its presence is recorded in temple reliefs, ritual objects, and the inventories of sacred treasuries. Yet its origin, purpose, and powers remain tantalizingly elusive. Wadjet, often depicted as a cobra or as a protective eye, was a goddess of kingship, protection, and the Nile Delta. Her association with this green stone is consistent across centuries, appearing in inscriptions dating as far back as 3000 BC. The stone is said to embody divine protection and fertility, acting as a conduit between the earthly and the spiritual realms. Priests would incorporate it into ritual spaces, embedding it in altars, ceremonial jewelry, or offerings, allowing the stone to serve as both a symbolic and functional tool within sacred practices. Its color, rich and deep, resonates with the fertile lands of the Nile and the regenerative symbolism often attributed to Wadjet herself. Mainstream explanations suggest that the stone may have been a type of green feldspar, malachite, or another mineral prized for its aesthetic and symbolic qualities. Egyptians valued such minerals not only for their beauty, but for their supposed metaphysical properties, believing they could channel life force, protection, and divine favor. Yet, the mysterious green stone defies simple classification. Analyses reveal a composition and structural quality that is atypical for stones sourced locally, hinting at either a rare regional deposit, long-lost trade networks, or even the possibility that the stone was deliberately altered or enhanced for ritual use. Its exact provenance is still unknown, leaving researchers to speculate on how the ancients obtained such a remarkable material. Beyond its physical characteristics, the stone carries enigmatic properties described in temple texts and oral traditions. Some passages suggest that it sees or guards, reflecting Wadjet's role as protector of kings and sacred spaces. Could this be metaphorical, symbolizing vigilance and divine oversight? Or might it indicate an ancient understanding of light, reflection, or energy that has been lost to time? Certain scholars have proposed that the stone's unique structure could amplify sunlight or ritual flames, creating effects that heightened ceremonial experiences or symbolically illuminated divine presence. While no definitive evidence confirms such theories, the precision with which it was incorporated into sacred sites suggests intentionality, not mere decoration. The stone also raises questions about the interconnection between Egyptian cosmology and material culture. Wadjet was closely linked to the Eye of Ra, representing both vision and protection, and to the fertile lands along the Nile. Might the green stone have functioned as a physical embodiment of these abstract concepts, a talisman bridging the seen and unseen, the earthly and the celestial? Its placement in temples often aligns with architectural axes, celestial observations, or ritual pathways, hinting at an awareness of geometry, orientation, and the interplay of space and symbolism. Could this small object have played a role in larger sacred systems, subtly guiding the flow of ritual energy and reinforcing connections between temple, sky, and spirit? Speculative interpretations extend further. Some researchers suggest that the stone may have had healing properties, both physical and spiritual, or that it contained encoded knowledge of cosmology or sacred principles. Could it have been used as a teaching tool for initiates, a focus for meditation, or even as a repository of hidden inscriptions or chemical elements whose effects are now unknown? Its rarity and consistent presence in sites associated with Wadjet suggest it was considered indispensable, a tangible link to divine power and protection, and possibly a key to understanding aspects of Egyptian ritual science that remain obscure. Studying the mysterious green stone today requires care and reverence. Its fragility, value, and historical importance mean that intrusive investigation is limited, leaving much of its story untold. Researchers rely on high-resolution imaging, spectroscopy, and contextual analysis to explore its secrets without disturbing its presence in temples and collections. Even with these methods, much remains uncertain. The stone's origin, its full range of properties, and the full scope of its spiritual significance continue to elude modern understanding. As we reflect on the mysterious green stone of Wadjet, a quiet fascination takes hold. It is more than a mineral or artifact. It is a focal point of ritual, protection, and divine symbolism, a bridge between worlds. Was it simply a treasured object imbued with symbolic meaning, or did it serve functions and convey knowledge that we have yet to comprehend? Did it guide the faithful, safeguard kings, or illuminate unseen energies within sacred spaces? The stone reminds us that even in the smallest and most seemingly simple objects, the ancient Egyptians embedded layers of significance, ingenuity, and mystery. Beneath the desert sun and within the quiet halls of their temples, the stone still waits, inviting us to wonder what other secrets of the sacred and the hidden it might reveal. Within the shadowed chambers of funerary complexes and the quiet halls of temples across ancient Egypt, small but striking objects lie waiting. The wands of protection, often carved with the heads of animals. These wands, slender and meticulously crafted, evoke a sense of authority, mysticism, and purpose, their surfaces engraved with the forms of lions, crocodiles, falcons, and serpents. Though only a few inches long, their presence speaks to a belief system in which the smallest artifact could wield immense spiritual significance, acting as both talisman and conduit of divine energy. The wands are primarily associated with ritual protection. Excavations in sites such as Saqqara and Abydos have uncovered these objects placed within tombs, alongside amulets and funerary implements. They were intended to shield the deceased from spiritual harm, guard against malevolent forces, and ensure safe passage into the afterlife. Animal motifs were not arbitrary. Each creature embodied specific attributes. The crocodile represented fierce guardianship, the lion courage and dominance, and the falcon divine vision, linked to Horus himself. In some instances, serpentine motifs suggested transformation and regeneration, aligning the wand's symbolic power with the broader cycles of life, death, and rebirth central to Egyptian cosmology. Mainstream scholarship interprets these wands as symbolic instruments, reflecting ritualized forms of protection and authority. Their placement in tombs and sacred spaces, combined with inscriptions invoking divine guardianship, supports the idea that they functioned as spiritual tools, safeguarding the soul in a realm fraught with dangers. Yet, certain features of these objects remain puzzling. Some wands are unusually shaped, with slight curves or hollowed channels, while others are embedded with traces of organic or mineral substances, hinting at purposes beyond mere symbolic representation. Were they conduits for ritual energy, amplifying incantations or prayers? Or did their form serve a practical role in ceremonies that is now lost to history? The animal heads themselves carry additional layers of intrigue. Their stylization varies by period, region, and ritual context, suggesting a complex system of symbolic coding. Some motifs are naturalistic, capturing lifelike details, while others are abstracted or exaggerated, emphasizing certain features over others. Did these variations encode knowledge about the properties of each animal, spiritual principles, or even the cosmological role of these creatures? For instance, lions are depicted with exaggerated manes and pronounced musculature, perhaps signaling not only courage but an energetic potency meant to be invoked through ritual use. The precision and consistency of these designs across centuries suggest more than aesthetic preference. They hint at a sophisticated system of symbolic communication, accessible to trained priests and initiates. Speculative interpretations extend into the realm of metaphysics. Some researchers propose that the wands may have served as focal points for channeling unseen energies, guiding ritual action, or aligning human intent with cosmic forces. Could the animal-headed forms act as conduits, bridging the earthly realm and the divine, amplifying protective qualities while directing them toward the deceased or the ritual space? Others suggest that the wands could have functioned in conjunction with sacred geometry, temple architecture, or celestial alignments, their placement and orientation enhancing ritual efficacy in ways we are only beginning to comprehend. While evidence remains circumstantial, the precision and repetition of these forms across centuries demand careful consideration. The wand's materials further deepen the mystery. Many are crafted from ivory, hippopotamus bone, or rare hardwoods, sometimes inlaid with traces of pigment or organic compounds. Such choices were deliberate, reflecting an understanding of material properties as extensions of symbolic meaning. Did ivory, for example, carry protective qualities associated with strength and longevity? Could certain pigments have been intended to amplify the wand's perceived power, reflecting light in ceremonial spaces or serving as metaphysical indicators of divine presence? These questions underscore the sophistication with which ancient Egyptians approached ritual, integrating material, form, and symbolism into a cohesive practice of protection. Even today, the wands resist full interpretation. Their small size and the fragility of their materials make invasive testing difficult, and the precise rituals for which they were intended are largely unrecorded. Yet in their subtlety lies their allure. They remind us that ancient Egyptian belief was not only monumental in scale, as with pyramids and temples, but also delicate and intricate, expressed in objects designed to influence both the material and spiritual worlds. As we contemplate the wands of protection with animal head motifs, a quiet fascination emerges. They are both simple and profound, tangible yet enigmatic, and their purpose continues to invite wonder. Were they merely symbolic tokens, or did they serve as instruments in rituals that harnessed forces beyond our comprehension? Did the animals carved into them channel the qualities of the natural world into the spiritual, guiding, protecting, and transforming? And what other small, seemingly mundane objects in the tombs and temples of Egypt might hold secrets of ritual, energy, or cosmic understanding that remain hidden? The wands whisper of a world where the sacred was woven into the smallest details, and where the unseen could be shaped through art, intention, and belief. In the sun-baked plains of Amarna, the remains of a city built for a king long ago hide some of the most enigmatic human artifacts ever uncovered, the elongated skulls of its inhabitants. These skeletal forms, unusual in shape and unmistakably distinct from the typical human cranium, have sparked fascination and debate for decades. Their stretched, oval contours, sometimes rising to exaggerated heights, immediately distinguish them from conventional skulls, hinting at practices or phenomena that modern science still struggles to fully explain. In the quiet halls of museums and archaeological storage facilities, these skulls seem to bear silent testimony to a chapter of ancient Egyptian life that is both intimate and extraordinary. Amarna, established in the mid-14th century BC by Pharaoh Akhenaten, was a city devoted to the worship of the sun disk Aten. Excavations have revealed not only palaces, temples, and tombs, but also cemeteries containing these elongated skulls, primarily among the royal family and elite. Some anthropologists argue that the shape resulted from deliberate cranial modification, a practice documented in other ancient cultures where infants' skulls were bound to achieve a desired form. Yet, the precision, consistency, and often extreme elongation found in Amarna specimens raise questions. Could these modifications have had a symbolic or ritual significance beyond mere aesthetic preference? Did they represent divine favor, a mark of social status, or an aspiration to emulate the king's own image, whose depictions also display unconventional cranial shapes? The connection between these skulls and the broader religious and cultural context of Amarna deepens the mystery. Pharaoh Akhenaten's revolutionary reign reshaped Egyptian religion, emphasizing a singular devotion to Aten, the sun disk. Artistic representations from this period depict elongated skulls, slender bodies, and other exaggerated features, sparking debates about whether these were stylized symbols of divinity or reflections of actual physiology. The correlation between these artistic depictions and the skeletal evidence suggests a level of intentionality or reverence, a cultural narrative in which cranial shape may have held spiritual or ideological significance. Mainstream interpretations focus on cultural and artistic practices, yet the skull's anomalies invite speculation. Some researchers consider environmental or genetic factors, while others explore the possibility that these individuals practiced intentional cranial deformation from infancy to signify status or affiliation. Could there have been esoteric knowledge associated with these skulls, linking the shape of the cranium to spiritual capacity, wisdom, or access to divine knowledge? Anthropological evidence alone cannot answer these questions definitively, leaving room for a range of interpretations, each hinting at a complex and nuanced culture that valued symbolism, identity, and ritual. The meticulous care with which these skulls were preserved in burial sites further emphasizes their importance. In tombs at Amarna, elongated skulls often appear alongside carefully arranged artifacts, ceremonial objects, and inscribed texts, suggesting that they were treated as significant even in death. Did the unusual form serve as a marker for ritual status or as a vessel for spiritual potency? Certain skulls display modifications so precise and symmetrical that they seem to transcend simple cultural custom, hinting at a sophisticated understanding of anatomy and symbolism. Could it be that the ancients believed the shape of the skull influenced the soul, its capacity for connection with divine forces, or its passage through the afterlife? Speculative theories extend into broader questions about human variation and contact. Some suggest that these cranial forms represent a lineage intentionally preserved over generations, a deliberate continuation of cultural or spiritual practice. Others ask whether they might reflect knowledge of anatomy, ritualized human enhancement, or even influences lost to history, preserved only in skeletal form and artistic depiction. While evidence remains inconclusive, the consistency of cranial elongation among elites and royals at Amarna hints at a deliberate, meaningful practice rather than mere coincidence. The mystery deepens when we consider the interplay between physical form, spiritual belief, and royal ideology. Did the elongated skulls embody an ideal of perfection, a reflection of the Atene's divine influence, or a visual expression of the pharaoh's revolutionary religious vision? Were these skulls a means of distinguishing the sacred from the ordinary, elevating the elite into a liminal space between mortal and divine? And perhaps most profoundly, what knowledge, lost to us, did the Egyptians associate with this striking physical trait? As we examine the elongated skulls of Amarna, a sense of quiet wonder emerges. These remains are more than archaeological curiosities. They are portals into the lives, beliefs, and aspirations of a society that valued symbolism, transformation, and the profound relationship between body and spirit. Were they tools of ritual, markers of status, or carriers of forgotten wisdom? How much of the culture, knowledge, and ideology that produced these extraordinary forms remains hidden beneath layers of sand, time, and interpretation? The elongated skulls invite us to ponder not only the people of Amarna, but the depths of human imagination and the mysteries that can endure for millennia. Scattered across the endless dunes and rocky plateaus of the central Sahara, a series of stone circles quietly mark landscapes that have long been considered inhospitable. Rising from the sands like silent sentinels, these circles vary in size and complexity. Some simple rings of unworked stones, others massive arrangements of carefully shaped megaliths. From above, they form patterns that suggest deliberate planning, yet from the ground, their purpose remains elusive. In the shifting light of sunrise or sunset, the stones cast long shadows that stretch across the desert floor, hinting at alignment, measurement, or ritual function. The age of these stone circles is difficult to determine with precision, but archaeologists estimate that many were erected between 3000 and 1500 BC, a period that overlaps with the flourishing of ancient Egyptian civilization. Some are located near ancient caravan routes or scarce water sources, suggesting practical functions related to trade, settlement, or seasonal gatherings. Yet their placement often appears deliberately symbolic, situated on elevated ridges or open plains where they are visible across great distances. Their scale and uniformity imply a sophisticated understanding of construction and spatial organization, even in regions largely devoid of permanent habitation. Mainstream interpretations propose that the stone circles functioned as burial sites, ceremonial grounds, or astronomical markers. Excavations have revealed occasional human remains, pottery fragments, and rudimentary tools, lending weight to the idea that these spaces were centers of ritual activity. Some researchers have noted alignments with cardinal points or solar and lunar events, suggesting that the builders may have tracked celestial cycles to time rituals or agricultural events. The precision of these alignments, however, remains inconsistent, leaving many questions unanswered. Were the stones practical observatories, symbolic representations of the heavens, or both? Beyond conventional explanations, the stone circles invite more speculative inquiry. Their design echoes other megalithic structures across Africa and beyond, raising the possibility of shared knowledge, ritual traditions, or cultural diffusion over vast distances. Could these arrangements encode cosmological understanding, marking star paths or solar events in ways that guided ancient communities in both spiritual and practical matters? Some observers have noted patterns that suggest connections to local geomancy, water flow, or topographical energy, hinting at a holistic relationship between landscape, spirituality, and human presence that extends beyond what archaeological evidence alone can confirm. The visual and symbolic power of the circles is striking. Some are concentric rings, others interlocking arrangements, and a few include standing stones that resemble rudimentary menhirs. Certain sites seem to cluster into networks visible across valleys or from surrounding elevations, suggesting an awareness of scale and placement that goes beyond individual ritual sites. The repetition of forms and motifs implies cultural significance. These were not ad hoc constructions, but deliberate efforts to shape the desert landscape according to principles known to the builders, yet largely lost to us today. Materially, the stones themselves pose further questions. Many are locally sourced, yet some are transported over considerable distances, suggesting effort, intention, and possible sacred purpose. The labor involved in moving and arranging these megaliths raises questions about the organization of ancient communities in the Sahara. How were they coordinated? What motivated such monumental effort? And what beliefs imbued these stones with lasting significance? Could the circles have served as ritual beacons, navigational markers, or ceremonial platforms where communities gathered for rites now forgotten? Even as we consider their practical functions, the circles carry an aura of mystery. Unlike pyramids or temples, they leave no inscriptions, no accompanying texts, no definitive indication of the beliefs or people responsible. Their silence is compelling. Could the stone circles have been a form of symbolic language, encoding knowledge about time, space, or spiritual cosmology? Might they reflect an understanding of the desert as both physical and metaphysical space, where human action and divine presence intersected? These questions remain unanswered, yet the persistence of the circles across millennia suggests that they held deep meaning for those who built and used them. As the sun sets over the desert, casting long, shifting shadows across the rings, a quiet sense of timelessness emerges. The stone circles of the Sahara are at once tangible and elusive, physical markers of human presence and spiritual aspiration. Were they places of worship, navigation, burial, or a combination of all three? Did they serve as portals connecting human communities with celestial cycles, the land itself, or unseen forces beyond our perception? And what other patterns, insights, or sacred knowledge might still lie hidden in the desert sands, waiting to be discovered by those who can see beyond the obvious? These stone circles remind us that even in the most remote and inhospitable landscapes, ancient humans left traces of thought, ritual, and imagination that continue to invite reflection, study, and wonder. Amid the sands of Saqqara, the land of necropolises and monumental tombs, there is one enigma that has eluded historians and archaeologists for centuries: the lost tomb of Imhotep. Revered as the architect of Djoser's Step Pyramid and a polymath whose genius spanned medicine, engineering, and the sacred arts, Imhotep occupies a unique space in Egyptian history. Yet, unlike the kings he served or the monuments he designed, the location of his final resting place remains unknown, a mystery that hints at secrets hidden in plain sight, buried beneath layers of time, sand, and reverence. Imhotep's influence is undeniable. Living in the 27th century BC, he transformed Egyptian architecture, introducing stone as a building material on a monumental scale. His innovations laid the foundation for pyramid construction, influencing generations of pharaohs and architects. Beyond his architectural achievements, Imhotep was deified after death, worshipped as a god of medicine and wisdom, his name invoked in incantations and temples for centuries. It is perhaps this blend of mortal accomplishment and divine association that makes the absence of his tomb all the more striking. If anyone's resting place should be celebrated and preserved, surely it is his. Yet no inscriptions, no surviving markers, and no verified archaeological evidence identify the site. Mainstream scholarship proposes several possibilities. Some suggest that he was buried discreetly near the step pyramid complex in Saqqara, perhaps in a modest tomb that has since been lost to erosion or later construction. Others hypothesize that his burial was deliberately hidden, either to protect his remains or to align with esoteric principles reserved for a figure of his stature. Yet attempts to locate such a tomb, including ground-penetrating radar surveys and intensive excavation of surrounding areas, have yielded tantalizing hints, but no confirmation. Hidden chambers. Anomalies in the sand and scattered fragments of inscriptions suggest that the tomb may exist, but whether it remains intact or was looted long ago is unknown. The intrigue deepens when considering Imhotep's posthumous cult. Temples and shrines dedicated to him arose throughout Egypt, particularly during the late period, long after his death. These sites venerated him as a healer and sage, associating him with divine wisdom and medical knowledge. Could the deliberate obscurity of his burial site have been intended to enhance his myth, turning his mortal remains into a symbol of eternal mystery? Or might there be a more practical reason? A tomb concealed beneath layers of stone and sand to safeguard sacred knowledge, or perhaps a secret chamber constructed to interact with celestial or geomantic forces, reflecting Imhotep's mastery of both earthly and cosmic principles. Physical and architectural clues, though fragmentary, suggest sophisticated planning. Imhotep's known works demonstrate a remarkable understanding of geometry, load distribution, and ceremonial alignment. If he applied these principles to his own tomb, it is conceivable that its location or structure was intentionally cryptic, incorporating concealed passages, false chambers, or symbolic alignments designed to mislead the uninitiated. Could the tomb contain encoded inscriptions, medical texts, or architectural secrets safeguarded through its very concealment? The possibility of lost knowledge embedded in stone, hidden for millennia, evokes both reverence and speculation. There are also tantalizing, albeit unverified, reports of subterranean networks beneath Saqqara. Some explorers and researchers have claimed to detect voids or corridors extending beyond known structures, suggesting that Imhotep's tomb may lie within a labyrinthine complex, accessible only through passages that have yet to be discovered. While these claims remain inconclusive, they reinforce the notion that Saqqara is more than a collection of tombs. It is a palimpsest of history, architecture, and spiritual ambition, where secrets may persist beneath layers of sand, limestone, and ritualized construction. The lost tomb of Imhotep embodies a paradox. Here is a man whose achievements shaped Egyptian civilization and whose veneration transcended mortality, yet whose final resting place is hidden from our eyes. It serves as a reminder that even in one of the most intensively studied regions of the ancient world, mysteries remain, layered within structures, landscapes, and traditions. The absence of concrete evidence invites speculation, imagination, and meticulous inquiry, each approach offering a glimpse into a past both brilliant and elusive. As we contemplate the enigma of Imhotep's tomb, the questions multiply. Was it intentionally concealed, a sacred secret for initiates alone? Could it still lie intact beneath centuries of sand and debris, awaiting discovery by those who know where or how to look? And what truths might it hold about the life, knowledge, and spiritual vision of a man who bridged the mortal and divine in his own time? The lost tomb of Imhotep reminds us that the sands of Egypt are not merely silent witnesses to history. They are active keepers of mysteries, preserving secrets that continue to challenge and inspire those who seek to understand them. In the mist-laden wetlands of ancient landscapes, far from the arid expanses of the Egyptian deserts, a different kind of mystery emerges: the bog bodies. These remarkably preserved human remains, found in peat bogs across northern Europe and occasionally speculated to have connections with ancient Egyptian trade networks, seem to whisper stories from millennia past. The wet, acidic soils of these bogs create an environment so unique that skin, hair, and even internal organs can remain intact for thousands of years, turning each discovery into a portal through time. Among the damp reeds and quiet pools, the bodies rest in a liminal space, between life and death, past and present, natural decay and uncanny preservation. Archaeologists have dated many of these finds to the Iron Age, roughly between 800 BC and 400 AD, though some examples may be older. The preservation is so extraordinary that facial features, fingerprints, and clothing details survive, allowing modern researchers to reconstruct aspects of their daily lives, diet, and even the final moments of their existence. Many bog bodies show evidence of violent death, rope marks, slit throats, or blunt trauma, leading scholars to speculate about ritual sacrifice, executions, or punishment. These individuals were not merely victims of chance. They were chosen, placed carefully within the bog, and in some cases, accompanied by offerings or symbolic artifacts. Mainstream explanations suggest that bogs were seen as liminal spaces, connecting the living world with the divine or the underworld. Depositing a body within such a site may have been a form of appeasement, a sacred offering, or a way to maintain cosmic balance. Yet, despite careful study, the precise motivations behind these practices remain opaque. Why were certain individuals selected for deposition while others were not? Were these acts of political, spiritual, or social significance, or some complex combination that modern interpretations cannot fully capture? Some of the most compelling details emerge from the condition of the bodies themselves. Hair, nails, and even stomach contents survive in ways that reveal not only diet but also seasonal timing, social status, and possible ceremonial preparation. For instance, certain bodies bear carefully arranged positions or were clothed in garments that suggest deliberate ceremonial presentation. Could these choices reflect a deeper ritual logic, one tied to cosmology, the cycles of nature, or the spiritual architecture of society? And if so, what did the ancient people understand about the human body, the soul, and the intersection between life, death, and sacred landscapes? Speculative theories push the boundaries further. Some researchers consider the possibility that bog bodies were meant to communicate across the veil of life and death, acting as intermediaries or warnings, their placement in the bogs allowing them to speak to the living through symbolic resonance. Could the bog itself, with its uncanny preservative properties, have been seen as a sacred medium, transforming the human form into a vessel of enduring memory or divine message? And if so, what knowledge, lost to time, did these ancient communities believe could persist within the preserved flesh and sinew of these individuals? The locations of these finds often amplify their mystery. Remote, desolate, and difficult to access, The bogs are landscapes that resist intrusion, shaping the experience of both the ancient depositor and the modern researcher. Walking among these wetlands, one senses the weight of history, the quiet persistence of human presence, and the tension between visibility and concealment. Each discovery seems to suggest both a deliberate act and an unintentional survival, an interweaving of human intent with the enigmatic processes of nature that preserve what would otherwise be lost. Even the nomenclature invites reflection. Whispering Bog Bodies, an evocative term, captures the sense that these remains are more than physical artifacts. They are echoes, faint voices from the past, urging us to consider practices, beliefs, and experiences far removed from our own. They remind us that human societies have long grappled with mortality, the sacred, and the unknown, seeking meaning in ways that persist through time, even if we cannot fully interpret them. As we consider these enigmatic remains, questions arise that remain unanswered. Were the bog bodies primarily ritual sacrifices, political punishments, or symbolic acts of memory? Did the people who placed them understand the preservative power of the bog, or was this preservation an unintended consequence of a carefully chosen ritual space? And what other secrets might lie in wetlands yet to be explored, waiting to reveal insights about ancient belief systems, human behavior, or the delicate interplay between life, death, and landscape? The Whispering Bog Bodies, in their quiet resilience, invite contemplation. They remind us that the past is never entirely gone, that human acts, ritual, symbolic, or practical, can persist in forms that challenge our understanding. Like echoes across time, they urge us to listen carefully, to consider the interplay of nature, culture, and the sacred, and to accept that some mysteries, though partially illuminated, may remain forever beyond complete comprehension. In a quiet corner of a museum storeroom, hidden among artifacts of ancient ritual and daily life, rests one of the most enigmatic objects ever uncovered from Egypt's past: a painted skull affixed to a turtle shell. At first glance, it is a strikingly unusual artifact, combining human and animal elements in a single composite object. The skull, small yet detailed, bears traces of pigment, reds, ochres, and blacks, that have endured thousands of years, suggesting careful, intentional decoration. Beneath it, the curved surface of the turtle shell glistens faintly under the lights, its natural patterning creating a subtle backdrop for the painted human form. The juxtaposition of organic and human material evokes immediate curiosity, hinting at symbolic meaning, ceremonial function, or spiritual significance that modern observers can only begin to speculate upon. Archaeologists date this object to the late pre-dynastic or early Old Kingdom period, roughly 3000 to 2500 BC, a time of profound religious experimentation and symbolic innovation in Egypt. The use of human skulls in ritual contexts is documented in several sites, though pairing one with a turtle shell appears unique. Some researchers propose that such combinations may have served as ritual effigies, protective talismans, or vessels for spiritual energy, though no written records confirm the exact purpose. The craftsmanship suggests that the makers possessed both technical skill and symbolic literacy, aware of the meanings encoded in form, color, and material. Mainstream interpretations suggest that the painted skull may have functioned in funerary or ritual contexts. Skulls in Egypt were sometimes used to honor the deceased or to connect with ancestral spirits, while turtles were often associated with longevity, protection, and regeneration due to their enduring shells. By merging these two elements, ancient artisans may have been creating a hybrid object, a bridge between life and death, human and animal, physical and spiritual. Could this combination have been intended to safeguard the soul, guide it through the afterlife, or act as a focal point for ritual practitioners seeking connection with divine forces? Yet despite careful study, the artifact resists full explanation. The precision of the painting, the choice of pigments, and the method of affixing the skull to the shell all indicate deliberate intention, suggesting a symbolic or functional significance that transcends mere curiosity. Why a turtle shell, specifically, and not another animal? Was this object intended for public ceremonial use, or was it reserved for a private, esoteric ritual known only to initiates? Could it have been part of a larger assemblage, a singular piece in a network of sacred objects, each encoding knowledge or spiritual power in ways now largely lost to history? Speculative theories extend into the realm of cosmology and metaphysics. Some scholars have suggested that such hybrid objects may have been linked to celestial symbolism, representing dualities or transitions between earthly and cosmic realms. The human skull, bearing the traces of individual identity, may have been combined with the enduring form of the turtle as a metaphor for immortality, protection, or the cyclical nature of life. Could it have functioned as a medium through which practitioners could interact with forces beyond the visible world, a conduit between the human and the divine, or even a repository for knowledge deemed too sacred to inscribe on papyrus or stone? The visual impact of the painted skull on the turtle shell is haunting. The skull's features, though small, retain an expressive quality. The contours of the brow, the hollow of the eye sockets, and the fine application of pigment hint at the care invested in its creation. The shell beneath, smooth and curved, offers a quiet contrast, grounding the object in the natural world even as it points to the symbolic. Together, they form a dialogue between mortality and endurance, fragility and resilience, the human experience and the mysteries that lie beyond. Even as researchers analyze the pigments, the construction, and the possible symbolic meanings, questions remain. Was this object part of a funerary rite for an elite individual or a broader ritual of communal significance? Could it have represented a specific deity, a guardian spirit, or an allegorical figure connected to cycles of life and death? And might similar objects exist, hidden beneath layers of sand, overlooked in excavations or misclassified in storage, waiting to reveal a broader tradition of hybrid ritual artifacts in ancient Egypt? The painted skull on a turtle shell invites us to consider the creativity, complexity, and spiritual imagination of ancient Egyptians. It reminds us that their world was suffused with symbolic meaning, where even the materials themselves, bone, shell, pigment, could be transformed into vessels of ritual power. The artifact's survival through millennia preserves a silent narrative, one that challenges modern observers to contemplate the interplay of life, death, and the unseen forces that shaped human experience. In the end, it leaves us with an open question. What other secrets, encoded in objects both ordinary and extraordinary, remain hidden in the sands, waiting for those who can perceive the messages left by hands long vanished? Deep beneath the surface of the earth, hidden within the subterranean network of the Hypogeum, lies a chamber that defies conventional explanation. The Sound Chamber. Carved with precision from solid limestone, this space exudes an atmosphere of quiet intensity, where the walls themselves seem to hum with a latent resonance. The chamber is small, almost intimate, yet the acoustic properties within are extraordinary. A single voice, a whispered note, or a gentle strike of a hand against the stone reverberates throughout the space, amplified and sustained in ways that defy modern expectations. For those who enter, the effect is immediate, a sensation that the chamber itself listens, responds, and perhaps even communicates. The Hypogeum, a subterranean complex dating to approximately 3000 BC, is renowned for its intricate architecture and mysterious purpose. While most of its chambers served funerary and ritual functions, the sound chamber stands apart. Its shape and dimensions appear carefully calculated, with walls, ceilings, and angles that enhance natural resonance. Archaeologists have measured frequencies within the chamber that correspond closely to human vocal ranges, suggesting an awareness of acoustic principles far in advance of formal study. Yet why such precise sound manipulation was desired, and for what purpose, remains unclear. Mainstream theories suggest that the sound chamber may have been a ritual space designed to heighten spiritual or meditative experiences. In cultures across the ancient world, sound has long been understood as a conduit to the divine, capable of facilitating trance states, connecting practitioners to unseen realms, or marking significant ceremonial moments. Could those who entered the chamber have used voice, music, or percussion to engage with spiritual forces, to honor the deceased, or to attune themselves to cosmic rhythms? The intentionality of its design implies purpose, yet the exact nature of its function remains elusive. Beyond conventional interpretations, the chamber invites deeper speculation. Some researchers have noted that the resonance within the space can induce subtle physiological or psychological effects, vibrations that are felt as much as heard, a physical experience that extends beyond the purely auditory. Could the ancients have recognized these effects, consciously crafting a space where sound itself becomes a medium of influence, perception, or transformation? And if so, might the chamber have been part of a larger system of sacred architecture, where acoustics, geometry, and spiritual practice intersected in ways that modern understanding can only begin to approximate? The construction of the chamber also raises questions. The precision required to create its acoustical properties suggests not only skill in stone carving, but also a sophisticated awareness of mathematical relationships and harmonic principles. Did the builders use empirical observation, trial and error, or a conceptual framework informed by ritual knowledge? Were the chamber's sonic properties intended for specific frequencies, specific voices, or even particular chants known only to initiates? The deliberate choice of location, deep underground, insulated from external noise, implies that the chamber was meant to isolate, focus, and magnify sound, creating an environment unlike any encountered elsewhere in the complex. The chamber's visual and spatial qualities amplify its mysterious allure. Low ceilings, smooth limestone walls, and narrow corridors leading to the space foster a sense of enclosure, a separation from the external world. When sound reverberates, it seems to inhabit the entire body, merging with the architecture to create an immersive, almost otherworldly experience. Could this synthesis of sound, space, and human presence have been understood as a form of communication between the living and the dead, the individual and the divine, the natural and the supernatural? Or was it a controlled environment for meditation, healing, or initiation into esoteric knowledge, a place where the boundaries of perception were intentionally expanded? The chamber also invites comparisons with other ancient sites renowned for acoustic design. From subterranean caves to megalithic structures, cultures across time have recognized the power of sound to transform experience. Yet few examples match the deliberate integration of acoustics into funerary architecture as observed in the Hypogeum. Could the ancients have believed that sound itself carried spiritual potency, capable of guiding souls, influencing ritual outcomes, or preserving memory within the walls of stone? And if so, how much knowledge has been lost, hidden in practices that left no written record, surviving only in the lingering vibrations of limestone and shadow? As we contemplate the sound chamber, its mystery persists. The vibrations remain, the echoes linger, yet the original intent, the knowledge embedded in the space, remains largely inaccessible. It challenges modern observers to consider not only the technical skill of the ancients, but also their understanding of human perception, ritual, and the intangible forces that shape experience. What was heard in that chamber millennia ago may never be fully reproduced, yet the space endures as a testament to ingenuity, intention, and the enduring power of sound to evoke awe, reflection, and wonder. The sound chamber in the Hypogeum leaves us with questions that remain open. Was it a sacred instrument, a meditative sanctuary, or a repository of ritual knowledge encoded in stone and resonance? Could its vibrations have been meant to influence perception, consciousness, or even the passage of the soul? And what other acoustic wonders, hidden beneath layers of earth and sand, still await discovery, holding secrets that challenge our understanding of ancient civilization and the depths of human ingenuity? Rising above the flat sands of Giza, the Great Pyramid stands as a silent testament to human ingenuity, a structure so immense and precise that it continues to captivate scholars and visitors alike. Its sheer scale, approximately 146 meters in height at completion, composed of over 2 million limestone blocks weighing several tons each, raises immediate questions. How could a civilization without cranes, modern machinery, or powered transport achieve such an architectural marvel? From the outer casing, now largely eroded, to the intricacies of the internal passageways, every aspect of the pyramid speaks of careful planning, extraordinary engineering, and, perhaps, knowledge that has eluded us for millennia. Construction of the Great Pyramid is traditionally dated to around 2580 to 2560 BC, during the reign of Pharaoh Khufu. Ancient records, including fragmentary accounts from Herodotus and inscriptions from nearby quarries, describe large labor forces, careful logistics, and a complex system of ramps. Archaeologists have identified workers' villages, tool remnants, and transportation infrastructure, suggesting an organized, state-managed effort. Yet even with this evidence, the precise methods remain elusive. How were the massive blocks lifted, positioned, and aligned with such astonishing accuracy to the cardinal points, with corners forming near-perfect right angles? And how was the internal structure, including the Grand Gallery, King's Chamber, and relieving chambers, constructed without destabilizing the enormous mass above? Mainstream explanations propose various ramp systems: straight ramps, zigzagging ramps, or internal spirals. Experimental archaeology has demonstrated that large groups of laborers could maneuver heavy stones using levers, rollers, and ropes. Yet the scale of the Great Pyramid, combined with the need for precision, challenges even the most sophisticated reconstructions. Were these ramps the full solution, or only part of a larger, more complex method, perhaps now lost to time? Could there have been innovations in lifting, counterweight systems, or temporary scaffolding that left no trace in the archaeological record? Beyond the engineering feats, the pyramid's design suggests symbolic and possibly cosmological considerations. The precise alignment to true north, the correlation between its dimensions and astronomical measurements, and the mathematical relationships embedded in its proportions, such as the ratio of height to base approximating pi and the harmonic relationships between different chambers, invite speculation about the purpose behind such precision. Was the Great Pyramid intended solely as a tomb, or also as a monumental statement of cosmic order, linking the earthly realm to the heavens, or serving as a repository of sacred knowledge encoded in stone? Speculative theories extend further. Some researchers propose that the internal geometry and corridors may have been designed to channel energy, sound, or ritual processes. Could the placement of chambers and passageways correspond to star positions, solar events, or celestial cycles? Might the pyramid have functioned not only as a tomb but as a ceremonial or initiatory space, its construction a physical manifestation of religious, astronomical, and architectural mastery? The possibility that lost techniques or knowledge informed its creation only deepens the sense of mystery. inviting us to consider what innovations might have been known to the ancient Egyptians but are now irretrievably lost. Even the logistics of quarrying, transport, and labor organization challenge imagination. Stones were brought from nearby quarries, while granite for the king's chamber traveled hundreds of kilometers from Aswan. Moving such materials required careful planning, timing, and coordination, with thousands of workers likely involved in rotation over decades. Evidence suggests a well-fed, skilled workforce rather than enslaved labor, contradicting older narratives of forced labor and hinting at a sophisticated social and administrative system. Yet, the absence of detailed records leaves fundamental questions unanswered. How were the stones lifted to the upper levels? How were massive blocks precisely set in place, sometimes with tolerances of mere millimeters? The pyramid's enduring presence also raises broader reflections about the intentions of its builders. Beyond engineering mastery, it embodies ambition, belief, and vision. It represents a civilization capable of unifying enormous human effort over decades, aligning material, social, and spiritual forces to achieve something that continues to resonate across millennia. Its very existence challenges us to consider the limits of human capability in antiquity and the ways in which knowledge, once lost, transforms feats of engineering into enduring mysteries. As we gaze upon the Great Pyramid, questions persist. Were its builders guided solely by empirical methods, or by knowledge that integrated ritual, astronomy, and geometry? Did the pyramid encode messages intended for the living, the dead, or both? And beneath its stones, what secrets, technical, spiritual, or otherwise, might remain, waiting to be rediscovered by those patient enough to probe its depths? The Great Pyramid remains a monument not only to what humans can achieve, but also to the enigmas that endure when knowledge fades and time preserves only the monumental traces of intent. Rising from the sands of Dashur, the bent pyramid presents a sight both familiar and profoundly perplexing. Unlike the perfectly straight-sided pyramids of Giza, this early monument shifts its angle midway, its lower portion steeply inclined at roughly 54 degrees, before leveling out to a gentler 43-degree slope near the summit. The effect is subtle from a distance but unmistakable upon closer inspection. A pyramid caught in transition, as if its builders paused mid-creation to reconsider, adapt, or correct. Its unusual form immediately invites questions. Was this shift a structural necessity, an intentional design, or a silent message encoded in stone? The bent pyramid dates to approximately 2600 BC, built under Pharaoh Sneferu, father of Khufu. Sneferu's reign is often seen as a period of experimentation, marked by architectural innovation that would culminate in the Great Pyramid. Archaeologists suggest that the pyramid's unique angle reflects an evolution in understanding of weight distribution and structural stability. Early steep inclines in pyramid construction proved risky. Massive limestone blocks exerted enormous pressure on lower layers, leading some researchers to speculate that the angle shift was a corrective measure mid-build. But even with this explanation, questions linger. Why change the angle rather than reinforce the base? How did the builders assess risk without modern tools, calculations, or precedent? Mainstream studies emphasize the pyramid's internal complexity. The bent pyramid contains two entrances, one at ground level and another higher up, leading to corbelled chambers with intricate passageways. The dual entrances may suggest ritual considerations, symbolic duality, or evolving construction techniques. Some scholars theorize that these features indicate an experimental phase in which architects refined their methods for internal spaces and load-bearing systems, preparing for subsequent, more precise monuments like the Red Pyramid and the Great Pyramid. Yet, the choice to maintain the lower, steeper angle alongside the corrective upper slope remains a striking anomaly. one that resists simple engineering explanation. Speculative interpretations invite a broader lens. Could the bent pyramid's odd angle have held symbolic or cosmological significance? In a civilization deeply attuned to celestial observation and ritual symbolism, might the slope transition reflect the alignment of earthly and heavenly principles, a visual metaphor for transformation, or even a coded message for future generations? Some theorists propose that the unique profile may have been intended to interact with sunlight and shadow in a deliberate way, producing visual effects during solstices or equinoxes, though such claims remain difficult to verify. The pyramid's construction logistics also provoke wonder. Thousands of laborers quarried, transported, and set massive stones with precision, adjusting placement to achieve the altered slope. The change in angle would have required recalibration of ramps, tools, and coordination, all executed without detailed written instructions or modern measurement devices. Could this indicate a culture capable of dynamic problem-solving at a level we still struggle to replicate? And might the builders have possessed knowledge of weight, stress, and geometry far more advanced than surviving records suggest? Its enduring state further deepens the mystery. Unlike many early pyramids, the bent pyramid retains much of its original polished limestone casing, offering an exceptional glimpse into the monument's original appearance. The gleaming surface emphasizes the visual impact of the slope change, as if the shift was meant to be seen, to communicate, or perhaps to evoke curiosity and reflection among those who approached. Was the angle change a practical solution with unintended aesthetic consequences, or a deliberate choice blending form, function, and meaning in a single, enigmatic gesture? Even in modern times, the bent pyramid challenges our assumptions about ancient Egyptian architectural certainty. Its very existence suggests a culture willing to experiment, to risk monumental failure, and to refine techniques through trial, observation, and adaptation. Could the pyramid represent an experimental laboratory in stone, a site where the interplay of physics, ritual, and symbolism was tested on a scale that few could imagine? And if so, what other lessons might lie encoded within its walls, hidden in angles, chambers, and shadowed corridors, waiting for discovery? The bent pyramid reminds us that even in an era of extraordinary technical skill, mystery persisted. Its unusual slope, dual entrances, and preserved casing all point to decisions, both practical and possibly symbolic, that continue to defy definitive explanation. It encourages reflection, not only on the ingenuity of ancient builders, but also on the limits of modern interpretation. For every insight gained through archaeological study, new questions arise. What principles guided the angle shift, and what knowledge, structural, spiritual, or symbolic, remains veiled in limestone and sand? Could there be aspects of ancient Egyptian understanding now lost that would render the bent pyramid's form logical, even inevitable? In the end, the bent pyramid stands as both a precursor and a mystery, a bridge between experimentation and mastery, between human ingenuity and the unknown. It invites us to wonder, to observe, and to acknowledge that some secrets of the sands endure, challenging us to see beyond stone, beyond angles, and beyond time itself. In the quiet corridors of the Valley of the Kings, where shadows linger and the air holds the faint scent of ancient stone, one question has captivated Egyptologists for decades. What became of Queen Nefertiti? Known across millennia for her striking beauty, immortalized in the iconic bust now housed far from the sands of her homeland, Nefertiti's life was extraordinary, her power immense, but her death and the resting place of her remains remain elusive. The mystery is compounded by the scarcity of inscriptions directly attesting to her final days, leaving a puzzle that modern science and scholarship continue to probe with curiosity, persistence, and reverence. Nefertiti, the great royal wife of Pharaoh Akhenaten, lived during a turbulent period of the 14th century BC, an era marked by religious revolution and radical artistic expression. Together, they promoted the worship of Aten, the sun disk, challenging traditional priesthoods and reshaping the spiritual landscape of Egypt. Yet even amidst the grandeur of temples, palaces, and monumental art, Nefertiti's ultimate fate remains shrouded. Did she die young, as some records suggest, or did she survive beyond her husband, perhaps even assuming power as pharaoh in her own right under a different name? The absence of a clearly identified tomb fuels speculation, a silence that speaks as loudly as the inscriptions that survive. In recent years, advances in archaeology and forensic science have opened tantalizing possibilities. Some scholars propose that Nefertiti may be interred within a hidden chamber in Tutankhamun's tomb, a suggestion that has spurred extensive scanning and exploration. X-ray and infrared imaging have revealed anomalies behind the walls of the burial chamber, voids that hint at concealed spaces potentially containing remains. Could one of these spaces conceal the long-lost queen, her body preserved through ritual and circumstance, yet obscured by centuries of restoration, looting, and shifting sands? The evidence is subtle, fragmentary, and deeply intriguing, inviting further investigation while resisting definitive conclusion. The quest for Nefertiti's remains also intersects with broader questions of identity, lineage, and succession. Some researchers suggest that she may have ruled briefly under the name Smenkhkare, a mysterious pharaoh whose reign is poorly documented. If true, the implications are profound. Nefertiti may have been both queen and pharaoh, navigating a society structured around male rulership while wielding unprecedented authority. Could the deliberate obscurity surrounding her burial reflect political sensitivity, a strategic concealment to preserve her legacy, or even religious motivations tied to her unique role in the Atenist revolution? Each possibility opens a door into the complexities of ancient Egyptian society, where power, spirituality, and memory were carefully intertwined. Skeptics caution against overinterpretation, noting that the absence of evidence does not confirm theory. Yet, the allure of mystery persists. In 2015, the so-called younger lady mummy was identified through DNA analysis as the mother of Tutankhamun, adding layers of intrigue. Was she a relative of Nefertiti, a sibling, or perhaps an entirely separate figure whose story has been overshadowed by history's focus on the queen's visage? Each fragment of evidence invites careful scrutiny, blending science and imagination in equal measure while leaving crucial questions unresolved. Nefertiti's potential burial sites also invite reflection on the cultural context of the Amarna period. Tombs were not merely repositories of the dead, they were designed as vessels for the soul, reflecting religious beliefs, ritual practices, and social hierarchies. Concealed chambers, hidden passages, and symbolic orientation could have been employed to ensure protection, continuity, and spiritual resonance. Could Nefertiti's remains lie behind layers of carefully orchestrated secrecy, preserved in accordance with doctrines now partially lost to time? If so, what messages, rituals, or energies might she have carried into eternity? And how might her final resting place continue to influence the living through memory and myth? The mystery is further heightened by the Queen's iconic representations. The elegance and realism of her portraits, the precision of her sculpted busts, and the proliferation of her image throughout Amarna suggest a woman of formidable influence. Yet these artifacts, as tangible as they are, do not disclose her final resting place or the circumstances of her death. They are echoes of presence without resolution, reminders that a life once vivid and commanding can leave behind questions that endure far longer than stone or pigment. As we consider the identity and resting place of Nefertiti, the intrigue persists. Are her remains hidden within one of the silent voids behind Tutankhamun's walls, resting elsewhere in the sands of Amarna, or entirely lost to the passage of time? Will future discoveries illuminate her fate, or will she remain a figure both vividly remembered and perpetually elusive, a symbol of beauty, power, and the enigmatic depths of ancient Egypt? In seeking her, we confront not only the mysteries of a singular life, but also the enduring capacity of history to hold its secrets, inviting endless exploration, reflection, and wonder. Amid the sands of Saqqara, where the monuments of early dynastic Egypt rise like echoes from another world, there lies a mystery that has perplexed historians and archaeologists for centuries: the disappearance of Imhotep's tomb. Imhotep, the polymath whose genius spanned medicine, architecture, and administration, is celebrated as the mind behind the step pyramid of Djoser, a structure that would forever alter the landscape of Egyptian monumental architecture. Yet the final resting place of this extraordinary figure, whose name would later be venerated as a deity, is conspicuously absent from the archaeological record. Where in the vast necropolis of Saqqara or beyond does Imhotep lie, and why has his tomb eluded discovery for over 4 millennia? Imhotep lived during the 27th century BC, a period of remarkable innovation under Pharaoh Djoser. Ancient texts and inscriptions describe him as the royal vizier, a man of wisdom whose understanding of stone, geometry, and ritual was unparalleled. He was later deified as a god of medicine and healing, his legacy enduring in Egyptian culture and beyond. Yet despite his fame, no burial site bearing his name has been conclusively identified. Saqqara, with its labyrinthine complexes, subterranean chambers, and shifting sands, has been extensively excavated, revealing countless tombs and pyramids. Still, the tomb of the man who designed the very first pyramid remains unseen, as if deliberately hidden or lost to time. Traditional explanations suggest several possibilities. Perhaps Imhotep was interred in a modest, unmarked tomb, overshadowed by the grandeur of the structures he built for royalty. Others propose that his burial may have been relocated, destroyed, or repurposed in later periods, a casualty of political change, tomb raiding, or evolving religious practices. Yet none of these explanations fully satisfies the imagination. How could the tomb of a figure so influential vanish without trace, leaving only his architectural masterpieces as silent testimony to his existence? Could the answer lie beneath layers of sand, beneath ruins yet to be excavated, or in chambers obscured by debris and time? Speculation deepens when considering the step pyramid complex itself. Some researchers suggest that Imhotep's own tomb might lie within or beneath the pyramid's expansive enclosure, cleverly integrated into a structure designed to honor his work and safeguard his remains. The labyrinthine nature of the complex, with its subterranean galleries and hidden corridors, would provide ample opportunity for concealment. Could the very genius that allowed him to design monumental architecture have informed the secret placement of his own final resting place? If so, might we one day uncover a tomb as sophisticated and ingenious as the step pyramid itself? Other theories extend beyond conventional archaeology. Some scholars entertain the possibility that Imhotep's burial was intentionally veiled in secrecy, designed to protect both the man and the knowledge he carried. In an era when kings and priests wielded immense power over life, death, and the afterlife, might a tomb have been purposefully hidden to prevent desecration or to preserve sacred wisdom? Could there exist hidden chambers filled not only with funerary goods, but also with texts, medical knowledge, or architectural plans, waiting silently beneath the surface for discovery? The enigma is compounded by the later deification of Imhotep. Temples and cult sites dedicated to him appeared long after his death, yet none provide definitive clues to his tomb. If he had become a god of healing and wisdom, Would his burial have been treated differently, perhaps concealed to emphasize the transition from mortal life to divine status? Could the absence of a known tomb itself be an intentional element of veneration, a way of elevating the man into legend and obscuring the mortal traces of his life? Modern technology offers tantalizing possibilities, yet each new method seems only to deepen the mystery. Ground-penetrating radar, remote sensing, and careful excavation have revealed anomalies in Saqqara, areas that could conceal previously unknown chambers. Could these anomalies correspond to the elusive tomb, or are they merely the remnants of structures long forgotten? And if such a tomb exists, what might it reveal about Imhotep, not only as an architect and physician, but as a figure whose intellect shaped the very foundation of Egyptian civilization? The disappearance of Imhotep's tomb reminds us that even the most celebrated lives can leave behind gaps that endure through millennia. It challenges our assumptions about preservation, memory, and the ways in which societies honor extraordinary individuals. Was the tomb lost by accident, swallowed by sand and history, or was it deliberately concealed, a silent testament to a man whose wisdom surpassed even the monuments he designed? And perhaps most compelling of all, might the next discovery, hidden beneath centuries of earth and stone, finally illuminate the resting place of the architect, healer, and visionary known as Imhotep? As the sun sets over Saqqara, casting long shadows across its pyramids and mastabas, the mystery endures. The tomb remains unseen, its secrets buried beneath the sands, inviting those who search to ponder not only the final resting place of a single man, but the enduring power of human ingenuity, ambition, and enigma. The question lingers: where does Imhotep sleep, and what marvels of thought and skill might still be concealed, waiting for the patient and curious to uncover them? Beneath the sun-scorched sands of Saqqara lies a world hidden from the gaze of most visitors, a subterranean labyrinth that whispers of rituals, reverence, and enigma. The Serapeum. Long corridors stretch into darkness, punctuated by massive stone sarcophagi, some weighing dozens of tons, meticulously placed with an engineering precision that continues to baffle modern observers. This necropolis, dedicated to the sacred Apis bulls, was not merely a burial site, but a carefully orchestrated complex of ritual, devotion, and monumental scale, a testament to the spiritual and technical sophistication of ancient Egypt. Yet, within its labyrinthine galleries, mysteries abound that continue to defy explanation, inviting questions about the motives, methods, and meaning behind its construction. The Serapeum was first used in earnest during the New Kingdom, around 1500 BC, though its foundations may extend further back, entwined with the earliest traditions of animal worship. The massive sarcophagi, carved from single blocks of granite, lie in long, parallel galleries, some partially hidden by secondary chambers and narrow corridors. These stone coffers housed the mummified remains of the Apis bulls, animals venerated as living manifestations of the deity Ptah, yet the sheer scale and ambition of the site hint at purposes beyond mere ritual interment. Could these subterranean halls have also served as symbolic pathways to the underworld, a reflection of the heavens, or even a repository of esoteric knowledge? Archaeologists have long marveled at the engineering feats evident in the Serapeum. The precise alignment of galleries, the careful leveling of floors, and the transportation of multi-ton sarcophagi from distant quarries, all without modern machinery, suggest an extraordinary understanding of geometry, weight distribution, and logistics. Some researchers propose that ramps, levers, and labor forces numbering in the thousands would have been necessary to maneuver the colossal stones, yet the exact methods remain elusive. How did the ancient Egyptians achieve such monumental coordination? Were there tools, techniques, or knowledge now lost to time, allowing them to manipulate granite with the precision and scale that continues to astound us today? The labyrinthine layout itself adds to the enigma. Some corridors branch into dead ends, others open into chambers whose purpose remains unclear, and the site's subterranean nature makes exploration difficult and potentially dangerous. Could the architectural complexity have served as a protective measure, deterring looters and preserving the sacred remains? Or might the arrangement hold symbolic significance, a reflection of the cosmology that guided Egyptian beliefs about death, rebirth, and the journey of the soul? The interplay between practical engineering and spiritual intent suggests a culture where the material and metaphysical were inseparable, where the construction of space itself carried meaning beyond mere function. Speculative interpretations push the mystery further. Some theorists have suggested that hidden chambers within the Serapeum could contain artifacts, texts, or even knowledge that has not yet been uncovered, perhaps records of ritual, astronomy, or advanced techniques in stonework. Could the alignment of galleries correspond to celestial phenomena, mapping stars or solstices in ways that modern scholars have only begun to consider? And if so, what might these arrangements reveal about the Egyptians' understanding of the universe, the afterlife, and their place within it? Yet the Serapeum is also a place of unanswered questions on a more human scale. How were the sacred bulls selected, cared for, and ceremonially interred with such elaborate preparation? What was the exact role of the priests, laborers, and artisans who maintained the rituals and constructed the galleries? Every sarcophagus, every corridor, hints at a society that wove devotion, expertise, and secrecy into a seamless whole. But the absence of explicit inscriptions detailing construction methods or hidden chambers leaves us to interpret purpose and process from the traces left behind, a puzzle whose pieces are tantalizingly close yet frustratingly incomplete. Modern exploration continues to reveal new surprises. Ground-penetrating radar has identified anomalies behind walls, voids that could conceal previously unknown passages or chambers. Each discovery sparks both hope and further mystery. Could these hidden spaces contain evidence of ritual practices, forgotten artifacts, or even structures predating the known galleries? Or are they simply natural fissures or the remnants of structural shifts over millennia? The Serapeum, like the sands above it, guards its secrets with patience and impenetrable quiet, offering only hints to those who probe its depths. Ultimately, the Serapeum challenges our assumptions about the boundaries between architecture, ritual, and memory. Its labyrinth is both practical and symbolic, a place where devotion, ambition, and technical skill converge, yet it continues to elude full understanding. For every sarcophagus lifted, every chamber mapped, new questions arise. What motivated the construction of this subterranean city? What knowledge, devotion, or mystery was intended to endure within its stone walls? And perhaps most compelling of all, how much of the Serapeum remains hidden, waiting silently beneath the sands, inviting the patient and curious to uncover the enduring enigmas of ancient Egypt? In the fertile lands of the Fayum Oasis, where the Nile's ancient waters once nourished bustling settlements, there exists a legend of a structure so vast and enigmatic that it has confounded explorers for centuries, the lost labyrinth of Hawara. Though centuries have passed since its construction, accounts from classical historians paint a vivid picture of a monumental complex that rivals even the pyramids in ambition and scale. The labyrinth was said to be a sprawling network of courtyards, chambers, and passages, adorned with intricate reliefs, statues, and hieroglyphs, a physical embodiment of both architectural genius and symbolic intent. Yet today, only fragments remain, and much of its grandeur is hidden beneath the sands, leaving scholars to piece together the mystery from texts, ruins, and tantalizing hints. The labyrinth is traditionally attributed to Pharaoh Amenemhat, the third of the 12th dynasty, around 1850 BC, a ruler known for his ambitious building projects and innovative hydraulic works. Ancient accounts, including those by Herodotus and Strabo, describe the labyrinth as an extraordinary feat. 12 square blocks of buildings, each with countless rooms, all interconnected by corridors that defied comprehension. It was not only a functional palace and administrative center, but also a symbolic manifestation of cosmic order, the king's authority, and the mysteries of life and death. How could such a structure, so monumental in both design and purpose, vanish almost entirely from the historical record? Archaeological evidence confirms the existence of the site, yet much remains buried. Excavations reveal remnants of walls, foundations, and decorated reliefs. But the true scale described by classical writers has yet to be fully verified. Could the labyrinth have extended far beyond the excavated zones, hidden beneath layers of Nile silt and centuries of erosion? The apparent disappearance of the majority of its structure raises questions. Was it destroyed deliberately, dismantled for building materials, or gradually swallowed by the shifting desert? And if so, why would a king's greatest architectural achievement be so completely erased from the landscape? The lost labyrinth of Hawara was said to be as much a space of mystery as it was of function. Some historians suggest that its myriad rooms and passages served both practical and ceremonial purposes: administrative offices, temples, treasury rooms, and mortuary chapels. Others speculate that certain chambers were designed to bewilder intruders, a maze to protect sacred knowledge, treasures, or the pharaoh himself. Could the layout have been intentionally complex, not just for defense, but as a symbolic journey reflecting the cosmic order, the trials of the soul, or the path from mortality to eternity? The very term labyrinth evokes both structure and enigma, a place meant to challenge the mind as much as to awe the senses. Surviving fragments hint at the extraordinary craftsmanship that once filled the halls. Reliefs depicted gods, animals, and pharaohs in poses of ritual significance. Colossal statues may have lined grand corridors, and inscriptions recorded laws, offerings, and perhaps even secrets lost to time. Some modern archaeologists propose that hidden chambers could still exist beneath the sands, waiting for discovery. Could these rooms contain evidence of religious practices, unrecorded hieroglyphic texts, or even architectural plans revealing advanced engineering techniques? The notion that significant portions of the labyrinth remain undiscovered adds to its enduring mystique. Speculative theories have long surrounded the labyrinth's purpose and design. Some suggest it may have functioned as a repository of knowledge, a proto-library of inscriptions and teachings preserved in stone. Others propose that the layout could have encoded astronomical observations, mirroring the stars or the course of the Nile, connecting the earthly domain with the heavens. And if true, what might these arrangements tell us about the Egyptians' understanding of geometry, time, and the universe? Even in fragments, the labyrinth challenges assumptions about what ancient civilizations were capable of and invites us to reconsider the boundaries of their technical and symbolic imagination. The mystery of Hawara is compounded by human intervention over millennia. Earthquakes, floods, and the reuse of building materials likely contributed to the disappearance of much of the structure. Looters and early explorers may have removed inscriptions, statues, and stones, scattering traces of the labyrinth across the region. Yet the echoes of its former grandeur persist in the surviving ruins and in the stories recorded by ancient writers. Each fragment, each remnant of wall or statue, hints at a complexity and ambition that modern observers can only begin to fathom. Ultimately, the lost labyrinth of Hawara stands as a testament to the ingenuity and vision of ancient Egypt. Its remnants remind us that even monumental achievements can slip from collective memory, concealed by sand, time, and circumstance. As modern technology and archaeological methods advance, new discoveries may yet reveal corridors, chambers, or inscriptions that shed light on the labyrinth's secrets. Until then, the structure remains a tantalizing enigma, a place where history, myth, and mystery converge, and where the mind is invited to wander through corridors that may still lie hidden, waiting for the patient and the curious to uncover their ancient stories. Perched above the temple of Hathor in Dendera, carved into the stone ceiling of the so-called birth chamber, lies an image that has fascinated scholars and travelers alike for centuries: the Dendera Zodiac. Circular in form, intricate in detail, and rich in symbolic meaning, it depicts a cosmic tableau of stars, planets, and mythological figures, blending celestial observation with profound spiritual significance. The relief glows faintly in the filtered light of the temple, as if inviting the viewer to trace its patterns and ponder its mysteries. While the artwork is unmistakably Egyptian in style, its content, an apparent map of the heavens, raises questions that continue to confound experts. What did the ancients intend to convey? And what knowledge might be encoded within its careful arrangement? The zodiac is generally dated to the Ptolemaic period, around 50 BC, though some argue that its design preserves older astronomical traditions, perhaps originating in the New Kingdom or even earlier. Its circular form and detailed iconography distinguish it from other Egyptian depictions of the sky, which typically emphasize linear or symbolic arrangements. Here, constellations and celestial bodies appear in a cohesive and highly organized manner, suggesting not merely artistic flourish, but a sophisticated understanding of the night sky. How did Egyptian astronomers achieve such accuracy, and to what purpose was it intended? Was this cosmic map purely ceremonial, a tool for religious observance, or might it have functioned as a form of proto-astronomy, recording cycles, seasons, or celestial events? Scholars have long debated the Dendera zodiac's meaning. Some propose that it is a calendrical device, a sophisticated mechanism for tracking the movements of planets, stars, and the lunar cycle. Others see it as a symbolic representation of the cosmos, with each deity and animal figure representing divine forces influencing the world below. The presence of Greco-Roman elements, such as certain zodiac signs, adds another layer of complexity, suggesting cultural interplay and adaptation. Yet even with these analyses, the full intent of the creators remains elusive. Could the alignment of certain symbols correspond to actual astronomical observations, or to events that had spiritual significance for the priesthood? The artistic and technical skill evident in the zodiac is itself remarkable. The figures are precise, proportional, and harmoniously arranged, demonstrating both aesthetic sensibility and exacting knowledge. Lines and circles intersect with subtlety, possibly indicating paths of celestial bodies or the relative positions of stars at key points in the sky. Could the ancients have used this ceiling as an educational tool, teaching priests to interpret the heavens? Or was it intended as a ritual space where the divine and terrestrial realms intersected, guiding sacred ceremonies and influencing agricultural and societal cycles? The possibility that multiple layers of meaning coexist, astronomical, symbolic, spiritual, adds to the enduring fascination. Speculative theories have taken the Dendera zodiac into even more intriguing territory. Some suggest that it encodes knowledge of precise astronomical events, such as eclipses, solstices, or planetary conjunctions, recorded centuries before similar recognition in other cultures. Others argue that certain symbols point to a lost understanding of the cosmos, or to insights that we no longer fully comprehend. Yet while these interpretations excite curiosity, they are difficult to verify, leaving the zodiac suspended between historical fact and enduring mystery. Its combination of clarity and obscurity, an artwork so exacting in detail, yet so opaque in ultimate purpose, makes it a timeless enigma. The Dendera Zodiac also prompts reflection on the broader Egyptian worldview. For the ancient Egyptians, the sky was not an abstract canvas, but a living divine realm, intimately linked with life, death, and the cycles of nature. Stars, planets, and constellations were agents of cosmic order, and understanding their movement was both a practical and spiritual pursuit. How might this ceiling, carved high above the temple floor, have influenced the perception of those who looked upon it? Was it a reminder of humanity's place in a vast, ordered universe, or an instruction for ritual performance, aligning earthly actions with celestial patterns? Despite centuries of study, many questions remain unanswered. Portions of the Zodiac have eroded or been damaged, and the full scope of its symbolism is still debated. Could additional panels, inscriptions, or texts once nearby have offered clues that are now lost? Are there hidden correlations between the Zodiac and other temples, tombs, or astronomical observations across Egypt? The more we examine it, the more it seems to reflect a culture capable of weaving the cosmos, divinity, and human experience into a single, enduring design. Ultimately, the Dendera Zodiac challenges us to reconsider what we know about ancient Egyptian knowledge, artistic sophistication, and spiritual insight. It is at once a map, a work of art, and a mystery, a record of the heavens that invites contemplation, speculation, and wonder. For every symbol traced, every constellation identified, the question lingers. What did the ancients truly see when they looked to the stars, and what secrets might still remain hidden within this celestial masterpiece, waiting for those patient enough to discern its language? Deep within the heart of the Great Pyramid of Giza, above the polished granite sarcophagus of the king's chamber, lies a mystery that continues to perplex archaeologists, engineers, and enthusiasts alike. A hidden void, a cavity of unknown purpose and seemingly deliberate construction. Though imperceptible from the chamber below, advanced scanning technologies, moon radiography, and other modern techniques have revealed an empty space extending over 30 meters, its boundaries invisible and its purpose elusive. It is not simply an architectural curiosity. It is a silent question embedded within one of humanity's most enduring monuments, inviting us to wonder what ancient builders intended and what secrets might remain concealed. The king's chamber itself is a marvel of precision. Its walls, constructed of massive granite blocks transported from Aswan, align perfectly within the pyramid's core. The chamber is encased in a series of relieving chambers intended to distribute the immense weight of the structure above and prevent collapse. And yet, the discovery of the upper void, sometimes referred to as the Grand Void, suggests that there may have been more to the pyramid's design than simple structural necessity. Could this space be another relieving chamber, a sophisticated architectural solution to redirect weight? Or might it have served a symbolic or ceremonial function, now lost to history? Scholars have proposed a variety of explanations, each grounded in both engineering logic and the enigmatic context of ancient Egyptian ritual. Some argue that the void functions as a hidden support system, an internal cavity designed to stabilize the immense granite beams and prevent the chamber below from fracturing under pressure. Others speculate that it might have been intended to house ritual objects, sacred relics, or even an additional burial, concealed from the eyes of the living. The absence of inscriptions or any detectable artifacts leaves room for debate, reinforcing the sense that this space was deliberately hidden, intentionally left void, perhaps as part of the pyramid's esoteric design. The possibilities extend beyond practical or functional explanations. For centuries, Egyptologists have noted the pyramid's alignment with celestial phenomena, its corridors and chambers reflecting precise astronomical knowledge. Could the secret void have had a symbolic purpose, representing the journey of the pharaoh's soul, a conduit to the heavens, or a mirror of cosmic structures unknown to modern science. Some theories suggest that the architects of the pyramid intended multiple layers of meaning, intertwining engineering, astronomy, and spiritual ideology, crafting a monument that spoke simultaneously to the living, the divine, and eternity itself. Yet there is also the challenge of scale. The void is vast, its upper dimensions still difficult to measure precisely. If it was designed for structural purposes alone, why carve such an extensive space without apparent internal supports or divisions? If it was intended as a symbolic or ceremonial chamber, why leave it empty and inaccessible? And why is it entirely undetectable from the corridors and shafts that run through the pyramid, as if meant to be known only through extraordinary means or through the eyes of those who truly understood its design? These questions have fueled speculation, inspiring both cautious academic inquiry and more imaginative interpretations. Modern explorations have shed limited light. Robotic probes, carefully maneuvered through narrow shafts, have provided images of the void's walls, but have revealed no artifacts or inscriptions. Moon scans confirm its size and geometry, yet the precise shape and function remain unclear. Even with these technological advances, the void maintains its silence, as if preserving the intentions of its ancient architects, guarding their secrets across millennia. Could there be hidden corridors extending from it, or additional cavities yet undetected, forming a subterranean network whose purpose we can only guess at? The void also prompts reflection on the ambition and ingenuity of the pyramid's builders. Constructed nearly 4,500 years ago, the Great Pyramid demonstrates mastery over stone, alignment, and spatial planning. The inclusion of a massive hidden space above the king's chamber suggests a level of sophistication and intention that continues to challenge modern understanding. Did the architects see this as a practical necessity, a spiritual statement, or a combination of both? And how might this reflect broader cultural beliefs about death, eternity, and the cosmos? Ultimately, the secret void above the king's chamber remains a compelling enigma. It is at once a testament to human ingenuity, a challenge to contemporary science, and a whisper from the past, reminding us that some aspects of ancient Egypt may forever evade full comprehension. Its emptiness, deliberate and silent, invites us to consider not only what is physically present but also what was intended, imagined, or symbolically encoded in stone. For every layer of understanding we uncover, new questions emerge. What lies beyond the visible, and what truths remain hidden in the shadows of this ancient, monumental space? In the arid sands of modern-day Amarna, the ruins of an ancient city whisper of a time when Egypt briefly embraced dramatic transformation under Pharaoh Akhenaten. Among the remnants of palaces and temples, a far more enduring treasure lies buried not in stone, but in clay: the Amarna letters. These small, cuneiform tablets, discovered in the late 19th century, are a remarkable testament to the diplomatic and political networks of the 14th century BC. Each tablet carries the impressions of stylus and hand, inscribed in Akkadian, the lingua franca of the ancient Near East. Yet their meaning extends far beyond bureaucratic record-keeping. They are echoes of a world in which kingdoms, cities, and rulers communicated across vast distances, their alliances, disputes, and secrets preserved in fragile clay. The letters, numbering over 350, are astonishing in both scope and content. Sent between Egypt and neighboring kingdoms, from Babylon, Assyria, and Mitanni to the city-states of Canaan and Palestine, they reveal a complex web of diplomacy, tribute, and political intrigue. Some letters are mundane, addressing issues of silver, gold, and gifts. Others hint at matters of life and death, alliances threatened or reinforced, and the subtle power struggles that defined international relations. What remains striking, however, is the precision with which these correspondences were written, the care taken to convey tone, authority, and nuance. How did the scribes, far from the capitals they addressed, ensure their messages were accurate and effective? And why were so many of these tablets eventually deposited together, as if archived for future scrutiny? The origins of the letters themselves, however, remain enigmatic. While scholars attribute them to the Amarna period, around 1350 BC, questions linger regarding the precise process of their creation, preservation, and eventual concealment. Some suggest that the clay tablets were intended for careful record-keeping within the royal archives, a method of ensuring accountability and memory. Yet, the discovery of these letters in a single archaeological context, the floor of a small building in Akhetaten, the city built for Akhenaten's radical religious reforms, raises further intrigue. Why were these critical communications not stored in a larger, more formal archive? Did the city's short-lived prominence and subsequent abandonment contribute to their preservation? Or does their clustering suggest an intentional concealment? The content of the Amarna letters also offers glimpses into the hidden layers of Egypt's political and cultural history. Many letters reference distant lands and peoples in ways that suggest nuanced knowledge of foreign politics, geography, and trade networks. Some scholars have noted references to names, cities, and regions that are otherwise scarcely attested, hinting at relationships and diplomatic strategies lost to history. Could these correspondences preserve traces of earlier political realities, now obscured by time? And what of the letters that seem deliberately vague or coded, their meaning perhaps accessible only to the initiated? The possibility that some messages contained secret instructions or veiled warnings adds a further layer of mystery, inviting speculation about espionage, intrigue, and covert diplomacy in the ancient world. One of the most compelling aspects of the Amarna letters is the human dimension they reveal. Beyond the formal titles and demands of kings and envoys, the tablets record frustration, anxiety, and even emotion. A ruler pleads for reinforcements. A vassal complains of delayed gifts. Scribes note complaints of rebellion or theft. These fragments of personal expression suggest that even within the rigid protocols of ancient diplomacy, the human experience, fear, hope, loyalty, and betrayal, was ever present. Could these glimpses into daily life provide clues to the broader strategies of Egyptian foreign policy, or even to the inner workings of the royal court itself? The letters also provoke questions about lost knowledge. Many names and places referenced have yet to be identified, and some political structures alluded to in the texts remain poorly understood. Archaeologists continue to debate whether additional tablets lie undiscovered, perhaps buried beneath the sands of Egypt or Palestine, waiting to reveal further secrets of a network that spanned empires. Could hidden correspondences shed light on Akhenaten's religious reforms, the fate of the royal family, or the extent of Egyptian influence abroad? And might some letters, deliberately obscured or encoded, preserve truths that challenge our understanding of this transformative period? Ultimately, the Amarna letters endure as a bridge between worlds, between Egypt and its neighbors, between the past and the present, and between the known and the hidden. They are a silent testament to communication, diplomacy, and human ambition, carefully inscribed in clay yet whispering across millennia. Each tablet invites us to consider not only the words it bears, but the intentions, fears, and strategies embedded within. And as we study them today, the questions remain. What other correspondences lie beyond our reach? What secrets did these letters carry in their time? And what might still be hidden beneath the sands of history, waiting for patient eyes to uncover their truth? The streets of Alexandria, founded by Alexander the Great in 331 BC, once thrived as the beating heart of Hellenistic Egypt, a city of gleaming temples, bustling harbors, and monumental architecture that rivaled the wonders of the ancient world. Among these storied streets, a singular mystery endures: the location of Alexander's final resting place. Accounts from antiquity describe a tomb of extraordinary grandeur, a mausoleum befitting a man whose conquests stretched from Greece to the Indus Valley. Yet today, more than 2 millennia later, the precise location of this tomb has vanished from the record, leaving historians, archaeologists, and treasure hunters alike to speculate and search for traces of a legacy shrouded in both reverence and enigma. Ancient sources tell us that after Alexander's death in 323 BC in Babylon, his body was transported to Egypt, ostensibly to Memphis, before eventually being interred in Alexandria. It is said that Ptolemy I, one of his generals and later pharaoh of Egypt, diverted the body to the city he had founded, ensuring that the tomb would serve both as a symbol of dynastic legitimacy and as a shrine to the conqueror himself. Classical writers describe a magnificent sarcophagus, possibly adorned with gold and ivory, and a structure of monumental proportions. Strabo, Diodorus Siculus, and other chroniclers speak of elaborate ceremonies, processions, and a tomb that became a place of pilgrimage for kings and emperors, including Julius Caesar and Augustus, who reportedly paid homage to the tomb centuries later. Yet, despite these detailed accounts, the tomb itself has eluded discovery. Alexandria, a city built on a marshy delta and layered with centuries of construction, destruction, and sedimentation, presents formidable challenges to archaeologists. Earthquakes, floods, and the relentless encroachment of the Mediterranean may have buried the tomb beneath layers of sand and urban sprawl. Could it lie intact beneath modern neighborhoods, hidden beneath millennia of human habitation? Or might it have been looted or destroyed long ago, its treasures dispersed and its precise location lost to history? The very absence of concrete evidence has transformed the tomb into a legend as potent as the man it was meant to enshrine. Some suggest that clues may exist in the writings and maps of antiquity. References to the Soma, or Sema, of Alexander, a term used by Greek and Roman historians, hint at a monumental structure aligned along the royal quarter of Alexandria. Archaeological surveys in recent decades have identified remnants of massive foundations, subterranean chambers, and urban layouts consistent with ancient descriptions. Yet nothing has definitively been connected to the tomb itself. Could these traces indicate the survival of the tomb in some form, or are they merely echoes of the city's extensive Hellenistic architecture, misattributed to the elusive final resting place? The historical record also contains intriguing accounts of visitors and guardians. Ptolemaic rulers reportedly maintained the tomb as a ceremonial site, offering homage to Alexander's memory while reinforcing their own legitimacy. Roman emperors later visited Alexandria, seeking to connect themselves to the legacy of the Macedonian conqueror. Yet these historical references do not resolve the mystery. The last reliable accounts of the tomb's condition date to the early centuries AD. After that, references become increasingly vague or anecdotal, suggesting that the tomb may have been deliberately hidden, neglected, or even destroyed in the tumultuous history of Alexandria, leaving only tantalizing hints for future generations. Speculative theories have emerged over the centuries, some rooted in historical analysis, others in conjecture. Some scholars argue that Alexander's body may have been moved to a yet undiscovered site outside the city, perhaps to protect it from desecration. Others propose that the tomb lies beneath the ancient harbor or beneath now submerged sections of Alexandria's royal quarter. Satellite imaging, geophysical surveys, and underwater archaeology have offered tantalizing possibilities, but no definitive evidence has emerged. Could the tomb have been designed with hidden chambers, secret passages, or cryptic markers in a manner reminiscent of Egyptian pyramids or other Hellenistic mausolea meant to safeguard the remains of the world's greatest conqueror? The mystery of Alexander's tomb continues to captivate not only scholars but also storytellers and explorers. Its absence invites questions about the nature of memory, power, and the impermanence of even the grandest monuments. Did Alexander himself intend for his final resting place to become a pilgrimage, a sacred site for rulers and devotees alike, or has time, circumstance, and human intervention obscured a plan that once seemed eternal? Ultimately, the tomb's disappearance serves as a reminder that even the most meticulously recorded histories contain gaps, and that the past often guards its secrets with deliberate silence. Each archaeological survey, historical analysis, and speculative theory peels back a layer of Alexandria's story, yet the tomb remains unseen, like a shadow cast across time. What remains hidden beneath the sands and waters of this ancient city? And what might still be waiting, untouched, to reveal the final chapter of one of history's most extraordinary lives? Beyond the colossal stones and soaring chambers of the Great Pyramid of Giza, there lies a network of passages and tunnels that few have ever traversed. These hidden conduits, often referred to in scholarly circles as the solar Barque tunnels, are believed to have been constructed to house the sacred boats that carried the pharaoh's spirits on their journey through the heavens. Visitors to the pyramid's surface see only the grandeur of the external facade, the precise angles of limestone blocks rising against the desert sky. But beneath the polished stones, the whisper of ancient wood and the faint outlines of concealed corridors hint at a story far more complex and far more mysterious than what is visible above ground. Archaeologists have uncovered fragments of these so-called solar boats in pits adjacent to the Great Pyramid, most famously the Khufu ship, a nearly 43-meter-long vessel of cedar planks, painstakingly dismantled and preserved for centuries before being carefully reassembled. The existence of this boat has long been interpreted as symbolic, a ritual object meant to carry the king's spirit across the celestial Nile. Yet, the discovery of tunnels, narrow passageways cut with extraordinary precision, suggests a more intricate design. Could these corridors have been intended to transport multiple boats, or even the pharaoh himself, through a sacred subterranean network? The origins of these hidden tunnels remain uncertain. Early 20th century explorers noted the presence of voids and narrow shafts beneath the pyramid, but the technology to fully map them remained beyond reach until the advent of modern scanning techniques. Muon radiography, a method using cosmic rays to detect voids within stone, revealed anomalies within the pyramid that correspond to chambers previously unknown. Some speculate that these voids connect directly to the solar Barque tunnels, perhaps forming a labyrinthine system designed to protect the king's passage into the afterlife. If so, these corridors may hold more than just wood and stone. They may conceal cryptic symbols, ceremonial relics, or architectural secrets that have defied human understanding for millennia. Classical historians, such as Herodotus, wrote of grand subterranean structures associated with the pyramids, though their accounts are often vague and interwoven with legend. The notion of secret tunnels carrying the pharaoh's journey from the mortal world to the divine realm aligns with Egyptian cosmology, where the king is not merely a ruler, but a bridge between earth and sky. Could the layout of these passages, their angles and proportions, have been deliberately designed to mirror celestial patterns, guiding the solar Barque along a symbolic route through the underworld and into the embrace of the sun god Ra? Speculative theories have emerged, fueled by the tunnel's obscurity and the lack of accessible records. Some researchers propose that these hidden corridors extend far beyond the pyramid's immediate footprint, linking to undiscovered chambers, underground reservoirs, or even other pyramids in the Giza complex. Others suggest that the tunnels were constructed with acoustical or astronomical purposes in mind, their narrow shafts and concealed chambers amplifying sound, aligning with stars, or even functioning as secret ceremonial spaces. Though such theories remain unproven, the existence of anomalies within the pyramid is undeniable, and each discovery raises further questions about the intentions and knowledge of the ancient builders. The engineering precision of the tunnels is remarkable. The limestone walls, smooth and evenly cut, suggest advanced techniques for both excavation and support. In some passages, the tunnels rise at subtle angles, intersecting with one another in ways that challenge conventional understanding of pyramid construction. How did the builders accomplish this with the tools available in 26th century BC Egypt? Was this network simply functional, serving as storage or ritual passageways, or was it deliberately encoded with secret knowledge, meant to endure through the ages as a mystery for those who came after? For centuries, explorers and archaeologists have sought to map these subterranean pathways, often limited by accessibility and safety concerns. Modern scanning and remote sensing provide tantalizing glimpses, yet the full extent of the tunnels remains shrouded beneath tons of stone. What artifacts might remain hidden, undisturbed since the reign of Khufu? Could there be additional solar barques, perhaps smaller vessels, or symbolic representations waiting to be discovered along these corridors? Ultimately, the solar barque hidden tunnels remind us that the pyramids were not merely monuments of stone, but living complexes, imbued with ritual, astronomy, and perhaps even secrets lost to time. Every narrow shaft, each concealed chamber, is a silent witness to the beliefs, ambitions, and mysteries of ancient Egypt. We are left to wonder, what lies beyond the points our instruments can detect? What stories remain trapped in darkness? And how much of the pharaoh's journey through the underworld is still hidden from human eyes? The tunnels endure as a labyrinth of questions, a subterranean testament to the ingenuity and enigma of a civilization whose reach extends far beyond the sands that now conceal it.